At Wrigley Field in Chicago, it's the New York Mets meeting the Chicago Cubs. Today's game is brought to you by Anheuser-Busch. Brewers of Budweiser, the king of beers. There's no better way to relax than with the easy taste of Budweiser. Getty Premium and Getty Unleaded Regular. The higher octane gasoline with a lower price. By Datsun. Datsun is dedicated, driven to give you the greatest economy of all, quality. And by Dairy Lee. Brought to you by the good folks of Dairy Lee, famous over 50 years for fresh dairy products. All our sponsors are pleased to bring you Mets baseball on WMCA 57 on your dial. Well, hi, everybody. Bob Murphy with Ralph Kiner and Lindsey Nelson from Wrigley Field, Chicago, where the Mets are opening a 3-game series against the Chicago Cubs. It rained throughout the night and early this morning in Chicago, but right now the field cover has been removed. Bright sunshine, a real midsummer type day. Now for the lineups and batting orders for today's game, let's check in with Ralph Kiner.
All right, Bob Murphy, for the Mets, it'll be Lenny Randle leading off and playing third base. Batting second, right fielder Elliot Maddox. Batting third, in center field, Lee Mazzilli. Batting fourth, left fielder Steve Henderson. Batting fifth at first base, Willie Montañez. Batting sixth, the catcher, John Stearns. Batting seventh, shortstop Tim Foley. Doug Flynn, the second baseman, batting eighth. And Mike Brewer, the pitcher, batting ninth. For the Cubs, the leadoff batter will be the shortstop, Ivan De Jesus. Batting second, center fielder Greg Gross. The third batter will be the right fielder, Bobby Mercer. Batting fourth, left fielder Dave Kingman. Batting fifth, at first base, Larry Bittner. The sixth batter will be the third baseman, Steve Ontiveros. Batting seventh and playing second base, Rodney Scott. The eighth batter, the catcher, Larry Cox. And Ray Burris, the pitcher, batting ninth. The umpires for the game today, Billy Williams behind home plate, Dick Stello, the umpire at first base, Bruce Fromming at second, and Eric Gregg, the umpire at third. The Cleveland Indians have claimed Chicago Cub pitcher Paul Russell on waivers. Cubs will receive a player to be named later in the transaction. Russell, 31 years old, a right-hander, was originally signed by the Cubs in 1968. He has a record of 2 wins, no losses, with a high earned run average of 5.14. His career record in the major leagues, 12 wins, 11 losses. So Cleveland claiming Paul Russell, the brother of Rick Russell, the starting pitcher for the Cubs. In the National League all-night games, Philadelphia scheduled in Montreal. Carlton will be the pitcher working for the Phillies, who have won 5 in a row. Steve Rogers, 8-7, will be going for Montreal. St. Louis playing in Pittsburgh. Vukovic against Robinson. Dodgers are playing Atlanta. Scheduled pitchers Rodin against Devine. Cincinnati playing Houston. Reds have won 8 of 11. Tom Seaver 8-5 against Joaquin Andujar with a record of 3-4. And San Francisco, they've been hot. They won 13 of 17 against San Diego, and San Diego has a 5-game winning streak. It'll be Vada Blue against Bob Ochinko. Blue with a record of 10-4 has pitched shutouts his last 2 times out. In the American League, Boston against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Boston has won 4 in a row, 14 of their last 16. And Dennis Eckersley will be on the mound for Boston against Andy Messerschmidt. Baltimore playing Toronto. Baltimore has won 18 of their last 23. Mike Flanagan against Tom Underwood. Minnesota playing in Milwaukee. Gary Surham against Larry Sorensen. White Sox play Seattle. Francisco Barrios against Paul Mitchell. Kansas City against California. Rich Gale against Frank Tanana. And Detroit filling out the schedule. They'll be playing in Cleveland. And it'll be Billingham against Don Hood. Now it's Lenny Randle in the batter's box, and coming in for the play-by-play, Lindsey Nelson.
Thank you very much, Ralph Kiner. Hello again, everybody. Lenny Randle, switch hitter, batting left, hitting .227, 1 homer, and 14 runs batted in. Ray Burris with a record of 4-5, kicks and fires, and the pitch is inside low for a ball. Ray Burris, a tall and rangy right-hander. 27 years of age. Lifetime record against the Mets, 8 wins and 3 losses. Here's Burris with the pitch. That is inside low. So it goes back to 2-0. Around the infield, Larry Bittner is at first base. Rodney Scott at second. Ivan De Jesus to shortstop. Steve Oliveras at third. Burris with the pitch, and it is inside. 3-0 now to Randall with Elliott Maddox on deck. Randall back in, measures his stance. And here is the 3-0 pitch. In there for a call strike. It's 3-1. The outfield alignment has Dave Kingman in left, Greg Gross in center, and Bobby Mercer in right field. They play Randall to go to the opposite field with Gross shaded over toward left. Burris with a pitch hit on the ground, wide of first, taken by Bittner. He'll have to go to his pitcher, covering in time for a 3-1 putout. Bittner ranged wide, came up with it, then played to Burris, covering for a 3-1 putout. With one away, Elliott Maddox is the batter. He is hitting .267. He has 13 runs batted in. There was a storm in Chicago yesterday morning. It was rainy throughout the day. That snarled up the air traffic in and out of Chicago. And the New York Mets were delayed in their trip coming from New York following the conclusion of their game at Shea Stadium yesterday. That pitch is low for a ball to Elliott Maddox. Lee Mazzilli is on deck. Mets first were delayed because their plane was coming from Chicago and was delayed getting out to get to New York. Here's a swing and a miss. It's 1-1. So that the Mets actually got on the ground into the airport at O'Hare about 11:30 New York time last night. But the Cubs were coming back also from Philadelphia. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Swung on it in the air to center field. And Greg Gross is ranging over. He's there. He makes the catch. 2 away. That will bring up Lee Mazzilli, who is hitting .288. 5 homers and 29 runs batted in. The Cubs got on the ground at O'Hare before the Mets did, but they got to the terminal and deflamed at the same time. The Cubs were held an hour and 15 minutes out on the runway after landing before they could get a gate at which to unload. The Chicago White Sox, meanwhile, had lost the doubleheader to the Minnesota Twins at Comiskey Park and were going to Seattle. They were going out of O'Hare at the same time the Cubs and the Mets were coming in. So there was a great mixture of visiting Major League ball players. Among thousands of others, there is a pitch low for a ball. It's 1-0. Except on occasions such as Christmas and New Year's and that sort of thing, I don't think O'Hare has looked quite like he did late last night. Back then jammed. Here is a swing and a drive at second base. It's taken by Rodney Scott. Shoestringer side is retired on the line drive, nothing across. Middle of the first inning, the score is the Mets nothing and the Cubs coming to bat.
Jackie Stewart, winner of more Formula One Grand Prix automobile races than any driver in history.
Formula One racing can be incredibly expensive. Even tires and fuel don't come cheaply. Of course, in racing, the price of fuel is not much of a consideration. But when you're driving down the highway in a car that doesn't deliver such terrific gas mileage, and you've got to use premium gasoline in that car, well, then the price of gasoline should be a consideration. Paying premium prices for premium gasoline is not something I'd care to do. Not when there's a premium that sells for less than most other major premiums. Getty Premium. Getty offers quality premium gasoline without the premium price. That means you can get the power your car demands and pay less for it. So remember, when you fill up next time, fill up with Getty Premium. The premium that gives you more miles for your money.
The Met pitcher today is Big Mike Brewer, the right-hander, 27 years of age, in his first year in the major leagues. He has no record against the Chicago Cubs. His lifetime record is this year's record, which is 1 win and 5 losses. He is from Jamaica, Long Island. Willie Montañez at first base, Doug Flynn at second, Tim Foley at short, Lenny Randall at third, Steve Henderson in left field, Lee Mazzilli in center, Elliot Maddox in right, John Stearns the catcher, Mike Brewer on the mound. Evander Jesus will lead it off. The Cubs shortstop's hitting .269. He has 3 homers and 15 runs batted in. Cubs are managed by Herman Franks, and there were all sorts of rumored reports in the newspaper concerning things that may or may not have happened during the series in Philadelphia, swept by the Phillies over the Cubs. There was a report that when Dave Kingman was removed from a ball game in the 6th inning, a game in which the Cubs were trailing, that he chased Franks up the runway and engaged him in a heated conversation in Philadelphia. That was later denied. Report had come initially from Larry Bohr, the Philly shortstop. Jose Cardinal said that Bohr had reported it to him. It was later denied all around. Kingman said he didn't feel well. That's the reason he came out of the ball game. In any case, the Chicago Cubs have lost 6 in a row, 8 of their last 9, and on the road trip they won 3 and lost 10. That pitch is high and tight for a ball. There's Jesus, the right-hand batter. Greg Gross is on deck. And the pitch is in there for a call strike as Evander Jesus bluffed the bunt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Randall has moved up to the cutout of the grass at third. It is natural grass on the dirt infield. No artificial turf at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Swing and a miss. It's 1-2. The Philadelphia Phillies, by sweeping the series against the Cubs, moved up into first place in the Eastern Division. Phillies now lead the Cubs by 2 games. Curveball in for a called strike. And so Brewer on the good curveball strikes out Evander Jesus. Greg Gross is coming up, hitting .290, 1 homer, 23 runs batted in. The Met general manager Joe McDonald is along on this trip with the ball club. Greg Gross stepping in. In the Eastern Division, the Montreal Expos trail the Cubs by only 1 game now. And Montreal is 3 games back of the division leading Philadelphia Phillies. Pitch to Gross, in there for a called strike. It's on 1. The Mets have won 31, lost 42. They are 9 games back of the division leading Philadelphia Phillies. There's a swing out of base hit up the right field line. Could be extra bases. Gross stumbles around first and holds up. He stumbled rounding first base, took a skid. I see it's a little wet around there. He took a skid and held up as Elliot Maddox then hustled to the ball and returned it. And he is trying to walk off what might have been a muscle pull there. Going out is the Cub trainer to see about Greg Gross. He was intent on going for 2, I think, until he skidded rounding first. So the trainer has him walking down the line now to see that he's all right. There's no batting practice here today. The infield area was covered. There was infield practice. The outfield area is somewhat wet. Gross says he's all right. Bobby Mercer's coming up. Mercer's hitting .249. He has 3 homers and 23 runs batted in. Stuart Malfitano is the coach at third, and Turkey Rojas is the coach at first. Well, manager Herman Franks, he has Coach Peanuts Lowry in the dugout with him. Gross on at first with a single. Mercer left-hand batter, and the pitch is low and away for a ball. 1-0. Dave Kingman has moved up on deck. There is no score, and the Cubs are batting here in the bottom of the first inning. Brewer again checks back over his shoulder. Delivers a pitch that's high for a ball. It's 2-0. Second trip of the Mets into Chicago this year. Now Gross goes over to talk to the first base coach, Turkey Rojas. One year ago, the Chicago Cubs were well out in front in the Eastern Division of the National League, and on this date, a year ago, they had just swept the New York Mets in a 3-game weekend set and were 7 1/2 games ahead of the field in the Eastern Division. Swing and a miss. Mercer took the big cut. It's 2-1. A year ago, the Cubs had won 45 and lost 22. 7.5 games out in front. Today, they have won 35 and lost 32. Despite the fact that they had a disastrous road trip, they are still 3 games over 500 and only 2 games out of first place. A year ago, the Mets had won 29, lost 41, and were 17.5 games out on this date last year. That pitch is low for a ball. So the Mets' won and loss record isn't all that much better. Last year, 29-41. This year, 31-42. But they are only 9 games out, so they're 8.5 games better off in the standing. And now here is the pitch, and it is ball 4, and Mercer goes down to first. The runner is going on the pitch. But Mercer goes to first, Gross goes to second, and Dave Kingman is coming up. Dave Kingman has been in and out of the lineup. He's hitting .223. He has had 39 runs batted in and 14 homers. He's third in the league in home runs. He was quoted in the morning paper after yesterday's game as saying from now on he was going to take everything to right field. He said, if I hit a home run, it'll be out in right. Let's play him to pull to left field, characteristically. Runners lead first and second, and the pitch is high for a ball. It's 1-0.
Actually, Lindsay, the Mets tried to get him to do that at times, and it would help him. His big problem, of course, is that he does try to pull everything and is way out in front of curveballs.
And the pitch checked on. Pulled the bat back off the ball. It's 2-0. 2-0 to Kingman. He wears number 10.
Actually, a better idea would be for Kingman to hit through the middle and try to hit everything to center field.
Settles himself back into the batter's box. Runners lead first and second. This is a 2-0 pitch. It's high. Brewer's gone behind 3-0 to Kingman, and Larry Bittner is on deck. 1 man out, runners first and second. Bill Buckner and Jerry White are on the disabled list for the Chicago Cubs. Here's the 3-0. Down the pipe. Call strike. He was taking all the way, and it's 3-1. Gross at second base. Mercer at first. Brewer steps off. Now he sets up again. This is a 3-1 pitch to Dave Kingman. Swung on line into left field for a base hit. One out to Henderson around third. Coming home is Gross. Here's the throw, and he is safe at the plate. Throw to second. And Kingman's in a rundown, and Kingman is tagged out. And the umpire slips down on the wet grass. The umpire at second base slipped down on the wet grass. Dick Stello. Kingman is tagged out. 1 run scored. He gets a single and a run batted in. And Bobby Mercer moved to third on the play. So there are 2 men out. Play went 7-2-4. It went from Henderson to Stearns, who had no play at the plate. So he fired out to second, where Flynn made the tag on Kingman. Mercer moving to third, and he took a tumble, and the trainer is out to see about him. It's a wet track. We've had 2 spills of players and 1 of an umpire so far on the wet track. As Mercer rounded third, he took a skid, and the trainer is seeing about him. Dick Stello was on the infield grass when he lost his footing and slipped. But the Cubs are leading by a score of 1-0. And Larry Bittner will be coming up. Plate umpire Billy Williams has gone up now to inspect the surface there at third. Bruce Fromming, the umpire, is looking around, and Rube Walker, the Met pitching coach, is walking out to the mound. They may want the ground crew out here to do a little work.
That area right at third base is very slushy, and the umpire at third, Eric Gregg, is, I guess it's Bruce Fromming, is putting his foot down and slipping just by pushing on it, so it isn't very good.
They worked on it before the ball game, of course, and sort of covered over a somewhat muddy area. And now Billy Williams is over talking to Met pitching coach Rube Walker, who is out at the mound. First it was Greg Gross who slipped, skidded, rounding first. Mercer slipped, skidded, went down rounding third. Umpire Dick Stello skidded on the grass at second. But there's been no appearances yet by any members of the ground crew. Larry Bittner, the on-deck batter, is walking back over toward the dugout area. Now Rube Walker is turning and walking toward the dugout, but Billy Williams, the plate umpire and the senior umpire of this crew, is staying at the mound. All the Met infielders, pitcher and catcher, are gathered out there.
I think the grounds crew's out to lunch, Lindsay.
I was just going to say, they may have taken the afternoon off. You can check the Addison Avenue L. They may have gone back to the loop. There's not a sign of a groundskeeper here. They're not used to being called upon at Wrigley Field once the hostilities have begun. It is a bright, warm summer's day, but it wasn't yesterday. It wasn't early this morning either here in Chicago. Now there comes a fellow reporting to Bruce Fromming of dubious occupation. He is wearing a Cub T-shirt to qualify him for almost anything. He departs as quickly as he came.
I think he reported that we're going to have to wait a while.
That's about how long it took him. Now we have a man approaching at a deliberate pace with a bucket and a rake. He is in no apparent hurry.
For years, the head grounds crew member had a house that's located right in back of Wrigley Field, just out and behind the left field area. So that would have been easy in the old days. Could have gone to the house. They'd probably pick him up, taking a nap or whatever, and bring him over. But that no longer exists.
From a 5-gallon bucket, he has just poured out at most a quart of sand and sawdust. And he is raking that into the area where Mercer skidded.
It's a crew of one.
A crew of one is hard at work. 3 of the umpires have gathered and appear to be in a state of high jubilation.
They probably could go over there and get a couple of firemen located in the fire station right down in the left field area. Volunteer firemen ought to be able to do a job like that.
I can tell you, Ralph, from some personal experience, that firehouse located beyond the wall is the social center of this neighborhood.
And a few years ago, they had the Indians squatting on the railroad tracks over there.
Yes. Incidentally, although we had an umpiring crew of 4 posted, Eric Gregg is not here, apparently. He has not been on the field. We have had an umpiring crew of 3. And now, the second member of the grounds crew has brought out a sack of sand, sawdust, whatever, and he is marching across under the personal direction of umpire Dick Stello to do a little spreading around first base. Herman Franks, meanwhile, has come out to engage Billy Williams and Bruce Fromming in early afternoon conversation at Wrigley Field in Chicago, where the Cubs have just scored. And when play is resumed, they'll have a runner at third with 2 men out and Larry Bittner coming up. And it is Dave Kingman who is credited with the run batted in. John Stearns is walking up from his position at the plate to supervise the operation around first base. Only Stearns of the Mets is out there engaging in that supervisory detail. The remainder of the Mets are in the dugout or in the bullpen area, which is out in the sun. And here in Chicago on a day like this, a good many ball players who aren't playing choose to go down in the bullpen area and just take the afternoon sun. The 2-man grounds crew now is walking again at deliberate pace back across toward third base. And the ground there is being packed by the old stomping method. Pedal power. And I assume that we're getting about ready to go. Although that could be a faulty and dangerous assumption.
One of the problems with third base, when you round third base in this ballpark, with the conditions being normal, is that it slopes away from the field area at a fairly good degree, and it's awfully hard to make that turn and not go too wide. And with it being just a bit slippery as it is very difficult to get around third. So it's a multiplied situation because it is, under normal conditions, very difficult to make a good turn rounding third base in this ballpark.
Billy Williams has walked back down in the area of home plate now. Mike Brewer, the pitcher, has been resting in the dugout. He's walking out now, heading back toward the mound. Ground crew has departed, rake in one hand, empty bag in the other.
For years here, Mr. Wrigley, who has recently died, always wanted to have Wrigley Field like a picnic area, and he's always worked that way. And of course, he has the beautiful vines on the walls out there, and that created a problem quite a few years ago. Stan Musial hit a ball that went into the vines and disappeared, and the outfielder kept reaching in and pulling vines out and more vines. And Musial, by the time they found the ball, crossed home plate with the inside of the park home run. And they had to come up with a new grounds rule that said anything that got in there and disappeared would be a two-base hit.
Good now is taking his warm-up pitches. He's ready, and Mercer is back out there at third as a base runner. Larry Bittner is coming up. Left-hand batting first baseman, hitting .272. He has 3 homers and 25 runs batted in. The Cubs lead by a score of 1-0, and they're batting in the bottom of the first inning. 2 men out. Brewer now into the motion. He's working straight away. Kicks and fires, and the pitch is dealt low for a ball. It's 1-0. Steve Oliveris is up there on deck.
Sand delay was 8 minutes.
We are informed that the sand delay was 8 minutes. Here's a pitch that's in there for a called strike. It's 1-1.
6 minutes to find the ground screw and 2 minutes to work.
About right. Well, nobody's perfect, and Mike Brewer takes the sign. Mercer leads at third, and here's the pitch. Right in there for a called strike. It's 1-2. They play Bittner to go to the opposite field. In center, Mazzilli swung way toward left. Brewer with the 1-2 offering now. Check swing foul ball to the left side, out of play. Karam's back to Joey Malfitano on the lines at third. Cubs 1, Mets nothing. Mercer bluffs start down the third baseline. Brewer, it's 1-2 to Bittner. Just missed. Thought he might get a call. He didn't. It's 2-2. This is the first game of a 3-game series between these two teams. Here is the 2-2. Swung on, ground ball wide of first. It is on by both Montañez and Flynn into right base hit. Run batted in. Mercer scores. Holding at first base. It's Larry Bittner. Single and a run batted in, and the Cubs are leading 2-0. It was a ground ball wide of first. Montañez stabbed for it, came up empty. Flynn backed him up, stabbed for it, came up empty. It went on through into right. Oliveris coming up. Oliveris is hitting .221, 12 runs batted in. Been bothered by shoulder ailment of late. Switch hitter batting left. Montañez holds against the runner at first. Pitch is swung on, fouled off. We pause for station identification. This is the New York Mets Baseball Network.
Hey, the next time someone asks you, when do you say Budweiser, tell them anytime. Anytime you want to enjoy the smooth, beechwood aged taste of the king of beers. WMCA, New York.
This is Lindsey Nelson with Ralph Conner and Bob Murphy at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Cubs are leading 2-0. They have a runner at first with 2 men out, and there's a strike 1 count to Steve Oliveris. Mike Brewer checks back over his shoulder, and the pitch is swung on line in the right center field. It's a tweener, a base hit. Round second and digging for third now is Larry Bittner. He's going to get a green light at third. He's coming home. Flynn's relay, and he scores at the plate. A double and a run batted in, and the Cubs are leading by a score of 3-0. Drilled it up the power alley in right center field in between Lee Mazzilli and Elliott Maddox. It went all the way to the ivy-covered wall so that Larry Bittner scored. Steve Ontiveros held at second with a double, and Rodney Scott is coming up. Manny Trio is out with an injury, and Rodney Scott, who was recently brought up, is playing second base. He's 1 for 8. He's hitting 125. Kevin Coble is getting up to throw in the Met bullpen. Kevin Coble. Brewer again. Sets and checks, kicks and fires, and the pitch is high for a ball. It's 1-0. Cubs have scored 3 times here in the bottom of the first inning. Brewer's curveball misses inside. He's gone behind 2-0 to Rodney Scott, the number 7 man in the batting order. Ontiveros leads at second base. 2-0 pitch is a curveball high. It goes to 3-0. Larry Cox, the catcher, is on deck. And the 3-0. Fastball right in there for a called strike. It's 3-1. This will be a 3-1 delivery. Swung on and missed. It's 3-2 now to Rodney Scott. Ontiveros leads. Here's the payoff pitch on the way. But on the ground to first. Montañez has it. Goes to first and can't get there. He can't get there. He spun his wheels on the wet dirt there for a moment, and so Scott legged it out. Ontiveros went to third. It's a base hit. Montañez went down with a sweep of the glove and came up with the ball, but then got a late start. And Rodney Scott, with excellent speed, simply beat him to the bag. Ontiveros went to third. It is a base hit, of course. And now the ball is thrown over past third, but time had been called. Mike Brewer walks over now to survey the scene. Ontiveros saw that ball go by third, turned and fled to the plate, but umpire Dick Stello says time had been called. So Ontiveros returns to third. Larry Cox will be coming up, runners first and third. The Cubs are leading 3-0. Cox is a right-hand batter. Still 2 men out, but now 2 men on. Runner first goes, and here's a throw to second. He is safe. Play back to the plate, and he is out on an attempted double steal. It goes 2-4-2, and the side is retired as Ontiveros is thrown out at the plate. Lynn stepped up, took it, and fired it back. Cox lead off the next inning. 3 runs. On 5 hits. No errors. And there was 1 man left. The end of an inning, the score is the Cubs 3 and the Mets nothing.
Great game of baseball, and do you think whenever the ump tells the players to play ball, do a double play, pitch it that saves the day, anytime the right one to say, when
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
We'll be going now to the top of the second inning, and it'll be Steve Henderson, Willie Montanez, and John Stearns up to face Ray Burris. Burris retired the Mets in order in the top of the first inning. And he came into this game with a record of 4 wins and 5 losses. We'll be back here tomorrow, and the following day we'll be broadcasting and televising tomorrow and on Wednesday, and then the Mets will be flying on to Pittsburgh for a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates that will terminate on Sunday. Steve Henderson hitting .254. He has 7 homers and 36 runs batted in. Wind is blowing out, as Ralph Conner reported. It was reported at 8 miles per hour from the southwest. And when it's from the southwest, that's blowing out at Wrigley Field. Henderson easily sets himself into the batter's box. Ray Burris with the pitch. Low and away.
Lindsay is not quite the same as it used to be, though, when you got the wind from the southwest. Since they've eliminated the stockyards here, you don't get that nice smell.
Well, that's very true. You certainly could be aware of it. 1-0 pitch. And for a called strike. I was talking to Phil Cavaretta before the game. Ralph and I brought up the fact that all of you fellas who played here some years ago say that the wind used to blow in and now it blows out.
Used to blow in every day.
This will be a 1-1 delivery. Swung on and fouled out. It's 1-2. Henderson drops the bat. Walking around, fouled that one off his foot, so he's walking off some of the paint.
So I'd like those old-timers gatherings. Everybody hit a line drive. He never popped up.
Never, ever. That's true. It's the best part of old-timers' reminiscences. Everything was just great.
They had their first old-timers day here last year. About this time, as a matter of fact.
Right. Henderson's back in. This is a 1-2 pitch. Blowing away for a ball. It's 2-2. Montanez is waiting on deck. Catcher Larry Cox flashes the sign. Here's Burris with the pitch. Swung on line in the left. Going to be a base hit. Kingman playing a deep left field. Returns it, and Henderson has single to left field. The first Met hit. It opens up the second inning. Montanez is the batter. Hitting .268. Has 45 runs batted in. Tied for 4th. And the RBI race. He has 10 home runs. Left-hand batter. Used to be a broadcaster named Bert Wilson who did the Cubs games for many years. Opened up every broadcast by saying, from beautiful Wrigley Field in Chicago, the parlor park of the Major League. Now the pitch, and it is low and inside for a ball. 1-0. Earlier this week, we were talking to Bob Elson, who at one time broadcast Cubs games, broadcast White Sox games. He was one of the pioneer broadcasters. He was saying at one time they had 6 daily broadcast originations of the Cub games here at Wrigley Field. This is back in the 30s. Should have thrown to first. Radio was comparatively new. Here comes Eric Gregg onto the field. We have umpire number 4 arriving some 40 minutes after the start of the ball game, but he's here. Gregg takes his post at third base. Fromming moves over to second. Stello moves over to first. Now a swing and a miss. Montanez took his cut. Chicago Cubs used to have a non-exclusive broadcast policy. any station who wanted to originate the broadcast of Cub games in Chicago could do that. And were welcomed by the Cubs. This will be a throw to first. It's not in time, and so they had 6 stations during the Cub games. And we have said for years, if you meet a fellow on the street and he says to you, I used to broadcast the Cub games, believe him, he probably did. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Swung on, on the ground up the middle. Ivan De Jesus up the bag, safe, throw to first, in time. They did not get the man at second. He came across the bag and stepped on the bag but didn't have the ball. And Bruce Froemming made the safe call. And they fired on to get the runner at first. Here comes Herman Franks out for an argument. Ivan De Jesus is trying to pantomime that he was on the bag at the same time he got the ball. It's a judgment call, and the umpire says he wasn't. So make it a 6-3 putout on Montañez with Henderson going to second on the play. And that will bring up John Stern. Herman Franks continues the discussion, but that is simply a judgment call. For the putout to be accomplished at second, Ivan De Jesus has to be in contact with the bag at second base and in possession of the ball at the same time. Bruce Froemming says he came across the bag in pursuit of the ball, touched the bag, but didn't have the ball at that point, and got that a step later.
He was using the old double play system where most of the time they're not on the bag.
Very true. It's the phantom out at second base. Stearns now in there. And that's low for a ball. It's 1-0. Anderson leads at second. The Cubs are leading by a score of 3-0. The Mets are batting in the top of the second inning. Ray Burris checks and deals, and the pitch is low for a ball. It's 2-0. There are all sorts of things that happen in the course of a baseball game that would confound and confuse a fellow who had just read the rule book and then seen his first game. Because customs of the service, as it were, have decreed all sorts of procedures that are not strictly according to Hoyle. That's in for a called strike.
Of course, the leeway, and it's very minimum at second base on double plays, is really to protect the infielder from the sliding runner, and they do give that consideration.
In a rundown play, according to the rules, strictly, the tag must be made with the ball. But most tags are made by the gloved hand while the ball is being held in the bare hand. This will be a 2-1 pitch. And it's low for a ball, 3-1.
And there was the neighborhood play that Gil Hodges was so good at.
That's very true. The first baseman is simply in the neighborhood of first base. When the ball gets there, Hodges used to make the stretch, and he'd come off. And come off toward the infield, toward the mound, and taking the throw. And technically, of course, you're supposed to stay on the ball stay on the bag until the ball arrives. There have been a number of neighborhood first basemen. This will be a 3-1 pitch. It's low, and it's ball 4. So Burris has walked Stearns. Henderson is at second base, 1 away, and Tim Foley's coming up. So the Mets try to get back in there here in the top of the second, 3 runs down. Foley's hitting .228, 10 runs batted in. He's been out of late in the last 45 times at bat. He's had 16 hits, hitting .356, as well as riding a lot of long fly balls for long outs. But he's here in the friendly confines of Wrigley Field this afternoon. 2 men on, 1 man out. Foley bats number 7 in the order. Ray Burris with the pitch, and it is low for a ball, 1-0. Doug Flynn is on deck. If you read the rule book, the official rules of baseball, it will tell you that baseball is a game played between 2 teams of 9 players each. That isn't quite true. In a lot of the minor leagues and the American League, where the designated hitters, in effect, they play with 10. Swinging a high pop up the right field line, taken by Rodney Scott, no advance. Scott had to go out in the short right field, and behind Bittner, who was also retreating to take the pop hit up there by Foley. And Doug Flynn is coming up. Doug Flynn is hitting .240 as 17 runs batted in. Right-hand batter. Kevin Coble is up and throwing again in the Met bullpen as the Mets get down toward the end of their batting order. 2 men are out, 2 men are on. Nobody's on deck. Now Brewer's coming out with the bat. It's a long way from the dugout to the on-deck circle. Then for a called strike. The dugouts here at Wrigley Field are situated generally behind the bases. First base dugout behind first base, vice versa. So that coming out of the dugout where the bat rack is to the on-deck circle is a long walk. It's not as long as the walk back to the dugout if one has struck out. Swing and a miss. It's a 2-strike count to Doug Flynn. Anderson at second and Stearns at first. Burris is staring in for his time as the Met runners have lengthened out their leads. 2-strike delivery. Hit on the ground towards short. Ivan de Jesus charges up and throwing. Low and in time. It was dug out by Bittner. The throw was in the dirt, but it was dug up by the first baseman, Larry Bittner, in time for the put-out that retires the side. So there was a hit, a walk, 2 left in the middle of the second. The score is the Cubs 3 and the Mets nothing.
At Datsun, we don't let up for a second. We are driven to be first. Take our Datsun King cab. First small pickup that doubles as a car. Console, opera windows, cut pile carpeting, steel-belted radials, and a first for pickups of any size, reclining bucket seats. Behind those seats, a small truck exclusive, up to 11 cubic feet of storage space.
All the comforts of a car.
All the top of a truck. The King Cab, one of 3 Datsun pickups. #1 import for 19 straight years. Whichever one you choose, remember, there's one quality that sets Datsun apart from all other pickups. Datsun quality. There's only one place to get a King Cab, at your Datsun dealer. Now.
Mike Brewer is on the mound as the Cubs prepare to come up to the bottom of the second. In fact, not entirely clear to Kevin Coble, who had warmed up in the bullpen, walked down to the dugout, took a step or 2 back toward the mound until he was informed that Brewer was going out there. Then he went back to the dugout and said, "Where'd I go? Back to the bullpen?" And somebody said yes. He went back to the bullpen. He now is standing out there looking back toward the dugout as though to say, "What did I do?" Now Coble is walking back toward the dugout. It will be Larry Cox coming up. He's hitting .250. 1 homer and 9 runs batted in. He's done most of the catching for the Cubs this year. Now John Stearns is called time. Is walking over toward the dugout. I think he wants a towel. And he gets it. It's a warm day here at Wrigley Field, and Stearns is toweling off his forearms and his face. Brewer's waiting on the mound for him. And he says to umpire Billy Williams, "What'd I do with the towel?" Billy Williams tells him he can give it to the attendant and custodian of the baseballs who is seated on the field behind home plate. Keeps a bag full of baseballs right there in his folding chair. Here's a swing and a miss at strike 1 to Larry Cox. There was a time Pat Piper for years had that job. Pat Piper was custodian of the baseballs and public address announcer for many years. Worked right on until he was past 80 years of age before he finally moved upstairs. And all sorts of incidents occurred down there on the field. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Low for a ball. There was the day an overthrow came in and got by the catcher and hit in the ball back. Now, there must be some 50 baseballs in there, and the question is, which one is the one in play?
I wonder if that's ever happened. As it turned out, there was no following play with the ball going in there, but if it had been, you could see a fellow, is this it? Nope. That's it. Nope. This is it.
Pitch is low for a ball. It's 2-1 to Larry Cox. Cubs are leading 3-0. Swinging a ground ball. Deep short, and Foley has the long throw. It's in the dirt and dug out in time. He's out as the throw went in the dirt, and Montanez, with a sweep of the glove, came up with the baseball. One away, and Ray Burris, the pitcher, will be batting. Burris has been up 28 times and had 5 hits. He's hitting 179 with 2 runs batted in. Cubs got 3 runs in the bottom of the first. They're batting now in the bottom of the second. Bird rocks into his motion, kicks and fires. Right in there for a called strike. It's 0-1.
You know, Lynn,
shortens up, son.
that famous incident where Babe Ruth in the World Series supposedly pointed to the bleachers and then hit a home run.
Pat ball in for a called strike.
Pat Piper said that he did not say he was going to hit a home run, and Pat was about 60 feet away, and he contended all along that Ruth did not call that shot.
From eyewitnesses, you can get both sides. Here's a swing and a miss on a curveball. Brewer's curveball struck out Burris. 2 away. You can have eyewitnesses relate to you what they saw, and some of them will say that he did call it, and some of them will say that he didn't call it. He did something. Of course, the ones who say that he didn't call it, such as Pat Piper, say that if he had called it, Charlie Root would have knocked him down.
Charlie Root said he didn't call it, naturally.
That pitch is high for a ball. It's 1-0 now. So Ivan de Jesus, 2 men out, nobody on base. It all happened in the 1932 World Series, right here at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Pitch is high for a ball. There's been a lot of riding going on in the series because Mark Koenig had been a close friend of Roos on the Yankees, and Koenig had been traded to the Cubs, and they voted him only a half share when they cut up the World Series money. Swinging a foul ball backing out of play. So the Yankees and Cubs have been riding each other throughout the series about the Koenig situation. And the Cubs dugout was riding Ruth pretty well that day. Well, after 2 strikes, he made some kind of a motion. And that's what the discussion is about. Did he call his shot and then hit the ball? Regardless, he hit it into the seats. That pitch is high for a ball. It's 3-1. 2 men out, nobody on base. And the pitch is high. It's a walk. Second walk issued by Brewer. Puts Ivan de Jesus on, and Greg Gross is coming up. He's been up 1 time, and he's single. Gross has lots of legend that is inherent to this ballpark. Wrigley Field, as Ralph reported, or noticed at the outset of the broadcast, it is the oldest park in the National League. And it's been the scene of many historic events.
We will be back on side 2 to continue the game.
Wrigley Field, as Ralph reported or noticed at the outset of the broadcast, it is the oldest park in the National League. And it's been the scene of many historic events and eras, for that matter. Brewer sets up, checks the runner, pitch to the left-hand batter, and it's inside. 1-0. That was an era when Ralph Kiner was playing left field and Hank Stahl was playing right field, and the center fielder was named Frankie Baumholtz. Well, I don't know. The legend says Baumholtz was in motion a good part of the time. There's a 1-0 pitch to the runner going, and a throw to second base. He's safe. Stolen base. Throw went in there on one hop. Stern throw went in on one hop. Stolen base number 9 for Ivan de Jesus.
Lindsay, Hank is not here to defend himself, but I will defend him, and myself included. We made a star out of Baumholtz.
You gave him many opportunities, I know. 2-0 the count, and the pitch is in there for a called strike.
He wasn't getting proper recognition, so we said, okay, Frank, we'll let you take a few.
The word from Kiner and Stahl was plenty of room, Baumholtz, and away he went. Swing and a drive in the air to center, and Mazzilli retreats. He's got it lined up, backpedaling, he's got it. So the side is retired. There was a walk, a stolen base, 1 left at the end of 2. The score is the Cubs 3 and the Mets nothing.
Hey, stop the music. Don't sing about it, shout about it. Astoria has 2 great new ideas. Idea number 1, 8-year, 8% savings certificates that fight inflation with an effective annual yield of 8.45%. Minimum deposit $1,000. Big idea number 2, the Money Market Plus account. A 6-month certificate that pays 0.25% more than the latest 6-month U.S. Treasury bill, plus daily compounding. Minimum deposit, $10,000, but topping the current market rate is good reason to put all your eggs in Astoria's basket. There are penalties for early withdrawal, so keep your day-to-day money in an Astoria day of deposit, day of withdrawal account. Okay, gang, now you can sing about it.
An idea designed to come through with many happy returns for you. The Astoria idea.
From beautiful Wrigley Field, we're going to the top of the 3rd. The Cubs leading by a score of 3-0. And now for the play-by-play, Bob Murphy.
All right, Ralph, in the 3rd, Mike Brewer will lead off for the New York Mets. Big Mike toweling off. Now getting a bat and heading toward home plate. It is a very good walk, much longer walk than in most ballparks from the dugout to home plate.
As Lindsay pointed out, Bob, it's a lot longer going back after you struck out.
And interestingly enough, usually the home team will take the first base dugout. That way, when you ground out, it's just a few steps into the dugout. But here, the Cubs have the 3rd base dugout, and it's a long trip back to the dugout. Swing and a miss by Big Mike Brewer, strike 1. Ralph, have they always had the 3rd base dugout?
As far as I can remember, Bob.
Now Ray Burris winding. Here's the pitch on the way. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Ray Burris, lifetime 8-3 against New York. This year, Burris has won 4, lost 5. Cubs here today opening an 8-game homestand. Breaking ball outside and low, 1 ball, 2 strikes. It was 82 degrees at game time. Brilliant blue skies, a little bit of a wind. Off the outside corner now, 2-2 to Mike Brewer. Lenny Randall will be up next, and then Elliot Maddox. Now Ray Burris, tall right-hander, winds and misses outside and low, 3-2. As a hitter, Mike has 2 hits and 18 times at bat. 3-2 delivery, swing and a miss. He struck him out. There is the first strikeout for Ray Burris, and Lenny Randall will be coming up for the 2nd time. Lenny is 0 for 1, hitting at 226. The game today, the first of 3. That Zachary works tomorrow and Jerry Kuzman on Wednesday. And a bunt that is foul, and Randall is called out. The plate umpire, Billy Williams, says Randall was out of the batter's box when the bunt came up and struck him. Joe Torre is out of the dugout and on his way to the plate to talk to Billy Williams about it. And Billy, pointing to a spot out in front of the batter's box, he said Randall, who was trying to drag a bunt, had moved out of the batter's box when the ball hit him, and so he is out. So Joe Torre and Billy Williams are having a discussion about it. But the decision has been made by Billy Williams. Chicago leading 3-0. The Cubs got 3 runs on 5 hits in the first inning.
Bob, it was confirmed by first base umpire Dick Stello, and you can't go much farther than that. I imagine Joe Torre is saying that Stello can't see the play from that far away.
Yeah, I would think so. So Randall is called out by Billy Williams. 2 outs and nobody on. The hitter is Elliot Maddox. Give the put out to the catcher, Larry Cox. Elliot Maddox 0 for 1. Elliot flied to center his first time at bat. Right-hander against right-hander. And it's low and away, 1 ball and no strikes. Let's return to New York in Shea Stadium next Monday night to get the holiday baseball period underway against the Phillies. Just off the outside corner, 2 balls and no strikes. Right-hand hitter Elliot Maddox batting .265. Lee Mazzilli will be the next hitter. And a towering pop-up on the right side of the infield. The second baseman, Rodney Scott, moving into shallow right field, takes it for the out. No runs, no hits, and none left. In the middle of inning 3 now at Wrigley Field, the Cubs 3 and the New York Mets nothing. On the next homestand at Shea Stadium, on Saturday, July the 8th, there will be Old Timers Day at Shea Stadium. The theme of the game this year is hitters and no-hitters. This means that many of the game's greatest hitters will be on hand, along with pitchers who have hurled at least 2 no-hitters or a perfect game. There will be some special guests and a surprise or 2. Old Timers Day is always such a fun day at Shea Stadium. Plan to come early. You don't want to miss the Old Timers taking batting practice, then the traditional Old Timers game, and when it's all over, the regularly scheduled game between the Mets and Cubs at 4:05 p.m. Willie Mays, Joe DiMaggio, hopefully Mickey Mantle will be there. Stan Musial, Roy Campanella, Carl Erskine, Monty Irvin, Johnny Mize, Bobby Feller, Johnny Vandermeer, Lou Boudreau, Freddie Lindstrom, Joe Cronin, Whitey Ford, Joe Torre, Bobby Thompson, Tony Conigliaro, our own Ralph Kiner, and new Hall of Famer Eddie Matthews, and many, many more. That's Old Timers Day on the next homestand, Saturday afternoon, July the 8th. Joe Torre is in a very heated discussion with umpires Billy Williams and Dick Stello, the discussion taking place near first base. It all has something to do with the fact that Randall was called out when he tried to drag a bunt. Apparently, Stello may have made the call, or if he didn't make it, he backed up the call made by Billy Williams, and Torre feels that Stello was far too far away to be a part of the play. Right here we pause for station identification. This is the New York Mets Baseball Network.
Say, the next time you're having a little backyard barbecue, don't forget the Budweiser. The king of beers goes great with good food and good friends. WMCA, New York.
Bob Murphy with Ralph Kiner and Lindsey Nelson at Wrigley Field in Chicago. That's opening 3 here at Wrigley Field. Then they go on to Pittsburgh to play a 4-game series. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and then Sunday afternoon. Bobby Mercer is the batter, and Brewer's fastball is over. Strike 1. Mercer reached on a walk. He later scored a run in the first inning of the game. Now big Mike Brewer out of the windup. Here's the pitch and a base hit. Low line drive through the hole into right field. And Bobby Mercer is on with a single to right. And immediately, Rube Walker sends the side to the bullpen, and Kevin Coble will start to warm up. Dave Kingman batting cleanup coming up. Kingman singled to left field, driving home Greg Gross in the first inning. For Dave Kingman, it was his 40th run batted in. He is the Cub leader in RBIs. Newspaper accounts that we're reading today in Chicago indicating that Dave Kingman and Herman Franks had a shouting match after Dave left the game on Friday night in Philadelphia. Here's the pitch on the way. Foul ball back on the screen. Larry Bittner, the on-deck batter, and then Steve Ontiveros. Game has been a struggle so far for Mike Brewer. Mike gave up 3 runs, allowed 5 hits in the first inning. Kingman waiting. Here's the pitch on the way. Foul ball off to the right. There was a quote from Dave Kingman in the papers to the effect that from now on he would try to hit everything to right field. That is first time up here today. He pulled the ball and singled to left field. Now Brewer with a 2-strike count. And the pitch on the way. Changeup just missed inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Kingman. Kevin Coble should be warmed up by now. He has worked in each of the first 2 innings of the game in the bullpen. Mike Brewer goes to the rosin bag. Bobby Mercer on first and nobody out. Kingman hitting .227. And the pitch on the way. Ground ball hit toward the hole, base hit to left field. Bobby Mercer around second, stopping there. This will be all for Mike Brewer. Joe Torre is on his way out. So Kingman with a ground single through the hole into left field. And Joe Torre goes to the mound now. He has Kevin Coble warming in the bullpen. Big Mike pitched very well in his last start at Shea Stadium after being returned to the rotation. But this was not a Mike Brewer day this afternoon at Wrigley Field. So while the pitching change is being made, let's take a look at Major League Baseball tonight with Ralph Kiner.
Well, the Eastern Division leader in the National League East, Philadelphia, they've won 5 in a row playing against Montreal. Phillies lead the Cubs by 2 and Montreal by 3. And Steve Carlson will be on the mound for the Phillies. Carlton with a record of 8-6. Last year, the Cy Young Award winner. Steve Rogers, the hard luck pitcher for Montreal, will be pitching for the Expos, and his record 8 wins and 7 losses. St. Louis Cardinals have a suspended game that they'll have to complete before their regular ball game. Game that was suspended on April 23rd with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Cardinals are winning 5-4 after 6 innings. Pete Vukovich scheduled to pitch for the Cardinals 4-4 against Don Robinson, who has won 4 and lost 2. The Dodgers against Atlanta. Dodgers are in 3rd place, 6 games back of San Francisco. Rick Rhoden 6-3 against Adrian Devine 4-3. Cincinnati, and they are 2.5 games back of San Francisco, although they have won 8 of their last 11 playing in Houston. Tom Seaver 8-5 against Andujar 3-4. San Francisco against San Diego. Both teams have been hot. San Francisco with a record of 13 wins in their last 17 games, and San Diego with 5 straight wins. Right here, it's the Cubs 3, the Mets nothing. The Cubs at bat, and once again, Bob Murphy.
Larry Bittner, left-handed batting first baseman, hitting .277. The first batter to face left-hander Kevin Coble. Here's the pitch on the way. He was set to swing away at its outside, ball 1. Kevin Coble checks into this game with an ERA of less than 1 earned run for 9 innings. Kevin has allowed only 2 earned runs since coming in from Tidewater. And the pitch on the way by the left-hander, a strike call. 1 ball and 1 strike. Mets acquired Kevin Coble last winter from the Milwaukee Brewers organization. Kevin had 1 year in the major leagues, then he had shoulder problems. He was 12-6 in the Coast League last year, still bothered by a bad shoulder, a rotary cuff injury. He was helped a great deal in spring training by Mets trainer Tom McKenna. have a meeting going on with John Stearns, Tim Foley, and Kevin Coble. 1 ball and 1 strike to Larry Bittner. Bittner, 6'3". Lee Mazzilli playing Bittner to hit the ball the opposite way. He shades him to left center. The 1-1 delivery and a line drive caught by Flynn. Second base for 2. Double play, a line drive speared by Doug Flynn. He threw to Foley. They doubled up Bobby Mercer. And if Kingman, Ralph, had been just a few feet away, we would have seen a triple play.
Very hard hit ball right at Doug Flynn, and Mercer had no opportunity to get back. He was actually moving to third, thinking the ball was going for a base hit.
So very suddenly, there are 2 men away, a runner on first, and the batter is Steve Ontiveros, the switch-hitting third baseman. Ontiveros got away very slowly this year. For the last 10 days, his bat has come alive for the Chicago Cubs. He's only hitting .224 right now, but he was down under 200. Ontiveros last year right at 300. Throw to first by Kevin Coble, not in time. Cubs lead 3-0. We're playing in the home third at Wrigley Field. On the outside corner, a call strike. Rodney Scott, the second baseman, is the on-deck batter. Here's the pitch by Kevin Coble. Inside to Ontiveros, hitting right-handed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Patty Trio is out with a knee injury, but is about ready to play again. Now an off-speed delivery outside, 2-1. He will probably play before the series is over. Willie Montañez holding against Dave Kingman on the throw to first, not in time. The infield is very slow following the heavy rains of last night. And a foul back toward the on-deck circle. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ralph, we weren't here, so we don't know, but as slow as that infield is today, I have to believe that yesterday during the day when they had all that rain, that field was not covered, the infield.
It's extremely slow.
Now the 2-2 delivery, slow bouncing ball back to the mound. Easy play for Coble. Over to Montañez, and the side retired. So Coble came in with runners on first and second, nobody out, and he slammed the door. No runs, 2 hits, and a man left. At the end of 3 at Wrigley Field, score remaining, Chicago 3, New York nothing.
Quasar has what you've been waiting for, the home videotape recorder that gives you up to 4 hours of uninterrupted recording. That means you can record any game, even if it runs to extra innings, and watch it when you want to. You don't have to miss your favorite TV shows anymore just because you can't be home. With Quasar's great time machine, you can tape any show on the air while you're watching it, while you're watching another channel, or even when your TV set is off. Just set the built-in electronic timer to turn your recorder on and off to tape programs when you're away from home. Quasar's 4-hour great time machine is the most advanced videotape recorder you can buy, with a remote control that lets you edit out unwanted material from the comfort of your chair, and a tape counter with memory, an audio overdub, and many other features. See Quasar's 4-hour great time machine now. For the name of your Quasar dealer, call 212-695-7310. That's 695-7310.
In the Chicago Cub bullpen, Kenny Holtzman is doing some work, and I believe it amounts to nothing more than that.
Holtzman's numbers, not very impressive. He's got an earned run average for the Cubs of 7.50. He's 0-2, and he has been in 5 games.
He got his first start for the Cubs at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia against the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies are about as hard to beat in Philadelphia as the Red Sox are at Fenway Park. Lee Mazzilli will be leading off as we go to the 4th inning. The Chicago Cubs, by the way, are certainly not easy here at Wrigley Field. At home this year, the Cubs have won 19. They've lost only 9. And they have won 13 of their last 15 Wrigley Field games. Lee Mazzilli hit into hard luck his first time at bat. He lined out hard to second base. He hit an atom ball. Lee Mazzilli, Steve Henderson, and Willie Montañez batting against Ray Burris. And a fastball over, strike one call. Mazzilli hitting .287. Dal Maxwell coaching third, Denny Summers coaching first. And the pitch by Ray Burris. Bunt down the first baseline, it'll go foul. Picked up by Larry Bittner, a foul ball as Mazzilli tried to drag it with him. On the drag bunt by a left-hand hitter, he really wants to aim that ball at the second baseman. That drag bunt went foul, much too close to the line. If you keep it too close to the line, if it's bunted hard, the first baseman will be able to make the play. In his heyday, Phil Cavaretta, the batting instructor of the New York Mets, was very skillful on the drag bunt. Nobody on, nobody out. Fourth inning, 3-0 Cubs in front. They got all three in the first. 6'5" Ray Burris winding. And a fly ball well hit to right center field. Way back. It may go, and it is gone. A home run. Lee Mazzilli hitting it to right center over the ivy-covered wall and into the bleacher crowd. For Lee Mazzilli, his 6th home run of the year.
And that 6th home run already equals his last year's total.
His second off the Cubs this year. He hit one batting right-handed off Willie Hernandez early in the year on April 11th. Lee had a home run off Don Robinson of the Pirates on the last homestand. So Mazzilli, as Ralph points out, equaling his total of all last year. We have a 3-1 ball game. The home run well hit in the power alley in right center, over the ivy and up into the bleacher crowd. Bleachers are almost full today at Wrigley Field. Fans love to sit out there and get the sun. Now Steve Henderson takes high, ball one. Three to 1 on Mazzilli's home run. Steve Henderson lined a single to left field his first time up. The pitch by Ray Burris, swing and a foul back on the screen. That home run by Mazzilli was only the second hit. The other was the single by Henderson. Nobody on, nobody out. Mets batting and attacking in the top of the fourth inning. The outfield playing Henderson around to left and a swing and a foul tip. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Steve Henderson. Willie Montañez loosening up in the on-deck circle, hoping that Henderson can get on board for him. Now Ray Burris checking it out with catcher Larry Cox. Cubs have the infield deep against Henderson and around to left. Steve with that overly close stance and a half-swing bouncer that is taken by Burris. He throws to first in time for the out. Henderson did not mean to hit that. He was trying to hold up. 1 out and nobody on. Here is Willie Montañez. Willie out on a bouncer to short his first time at bat. Willie hitting .267. With 45 runs batted in, he's tied for 4th in the National League. Dave Winfield of the Padres had a big day yesterday and raised his total to 47. Cincinnati's George Foster, the league leader, with 53 runs batted in. Now the pitch on the way, inside and low. Jim Rice of the Red Sox way out in front in the major leagues. Rice already has 65 runs batted in. 65 in less than a half a year. Inside and low to Willie Montañez. 2 balls and no strikes.
Fellow that holds the record for all-time RBIs in one season used to play right here in Chicago. Hack Wilson with 190.
And the pitch on the way. That's high outside. Ball 3. Ralph, it looks to me like that wind has changed around a little bit since the start of the game. It was blowing more from right to left out of the southwest when the game opened. Or is it just so light it's variable?
I think it's variable.
3-0 delivery. Swung on and fouled over toward the New York dugout. Montañez was set free on 3-0 by skipper Torrey. Fouled it away, and the count now is 3 balls and a strike. Kenny Holtzman at work in the Chicago Cub bullpen. I believe he is just doing tune-up work. Now the 3-1 delivery. And a drive to right field. It'll be a base hit. Taken on 1 hop by Bobby Mercer. And Willie Montañez with a hard single to right. Well, the Russell boys of the Chicago Cubs are having problems right now. Rick Russell, the ace, the 20-game winner of a year ago, has been having trouble with his elbow tightening up. And Paul Russell has been sent to the Cleveland Indians on waivers. So the brother act has been broken up.
They're the only brothers to ever combine for a shutout. They did it against the Dodgers.
Paul Russell had been with the Cubs since 1975 and had seen an awful lot of action. John Stearns standing in against Ray Burris, and a throw to first done in time. Cubs 3, Mets 1 were in the 4th. Stearns reached on a walk his first time at bat. Now Ray Burris delivers, and a ground ball to short. Might be a double play. De Jesus to Scott, and on to first, a double play. Stearns hit a sharp grounder right to the shortstop. 1 run, 2 hits, nobody left. In the middle of the 4th inning at Wrigley Field, the Cubs 3, the Mets 1. In the home 4th inning at Wrigley Field, and this the first game of a 7-game road swing for the New York Mets, Rodney Scott, the second baseman, will lead off for Chicago. Rodney played with the Oakland A's last year, had a pretty good year. He's very fast. Stole almost 90 bases in 5 years in the minor leagues. He's filling in for Manny Trio, who has a knee injury. Manny about ready to return to the Cub lineup. Rodney Scott had been playing at Wichita in the minors in the Cub farm system after being obtained from Oakland in a trade involving pitcher Pete Broberg. Rodney Scott from Indianapolis, Indiana. 24 years old, a 6-footer. He had a base hit on a ground ball to first in the opening inning of the game. And he bunts it off the mound quickly. Comes Kevin Coble. Throws. Makes a terrible throw. It goes into right field. And Scott is on his way to second base. As Coble went to make the throw, he lost control of the ball. And he threw the ball very wide of Montañez with absolutely nothing on it. He didn't have control of the ball when he threw it. Didn't even look like a throw. What did it look like, Ralph?
It just slid out of his hand, I guess, but the fact he should never have thrown, he had no play.
Coble had trouble getting the ball out of his glove. He had time to throw Scott out. But then when he had trouble picking it out of his glove, he tried to hurry too much. And that's when he threw the ball without really having a grip on it. Larry Cox, the batter, he's around to bunt, lays off. It's outside, ball 1. That is scored as a bunt single. And an error charged to Coble, allowing Scott to go to second. The Cubs have a runner on second and nobody out. The batter is the catcher, Larry Cox, right-hand hitter, batting .246. Lenny Randall playing in close at third. Montañez, even with a bag, wide of the line at first. Straight away at second and short. Here's the pitch on the way. It is high, and again he squared to bunt. Even though the pitcher, Ray Burris, is due up next. Herman Franks has Larry Cox squaring around to sacrifice. Fourth inning, Chicago leading 3-1. They got all 3 in the opening inning. Kevin Coble pitching in relief of starter Mike Brewer. And a smash to short, a one-hopper fielded by Foley. He holds the runner, throws to Montañez in time for the out. So Herman took the bunt off, had Larry Cox swing away, and he's out. It brings up Ray Burris. Burris 5 for 28. Was struck out his first time up. He's hitting 172. Ray Burris, tall right-hander out of Weatherford, Oklahoma. There goes the runner. Here's the pitch on the way to strike. A throw to third, not nearly in time. Rodney Scott got a very big jump on Kevin Coble. Stearns did not have a chance. His throw to third was not even close. And the bat base was certainly stolen off the pitcher, Kevin Coble. Rodney Scott is on third, and it means the Mets now must play the infield in. And they also must guard against the possibility of a squeeze play. There's really nothing you can do about a squeeze play if the batter pulls off his job. And Burris is not sure. He wants to talk with Joe Amalfitano, the third base coach. Willie Montañez wants to chat now with John Stearns. And Lenny Randall is talking to Kevin Coble. So the Mets certainly feel there is a possibility of a squeeze play coming up. Ray Burris is not a strong hitting pitcher. And Rodney Scott, the runner on third, is exceptionally fast. Now we're ready to go. The hitter is Burris. Here's the pitch. Outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Leadoff batter Ivan De Jesus is waiting to hit next. Let's have the infield in. Rodney Scott on third. The pitcher Burris is batting. Missed the outside corner. 2 balls and 1 strike. Kevin Coble stepping off the pitching slab for a moment. Now the count is 2-1. Here's the pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. So they had him swinging away, and now the count is 2-2. Mets will keep the infield in tight on the edge of the carpet. Burris, right-hand hitter. Here comes the squeeze play. Bunted foul, strike 3. Bunted foul, strike 3. And Rodney Scott must go back to third base. Or was that ball missed entirely, Ralph?
I believe it was missed entirely, and Coble did what he was supposed to do. He threw the ball right at the hitter, and somehow or other, Burris managed to get out of the way, and he did bunt at it for a strike. And I don't believe it was foul because the runner's allowed to score.
Tim Foley comes in and calls for the ball and tags out Ray Burris because since the third strike was missed entirely, he could have run to first base. Heady play by Tim Foley, although Burris hadn't even thought of running to first base. That ball came all the way to the backstop. I thought the ball had been bunted foul, but it was just missed entirely. And so the run will score on a strikeout, and we presume a wild pitch. It was the suicide squeeze. There was no turning back point for Rodney Scott, who has now scored, to make it a 4-1 ball game. Ivan De Jesus, the leadoff batter, is up, and he takes ball 1. Foul ball off to the left, no play. That will be scored as a strikeout, and the run will score on a wild pitch or a pass ball, and I'm sure they will say a wild pitch. So the Cubs have the run. Now Coble gets the inside corner for a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ground ball hit down to Willie Montañez. Willie up with it, runs to the bag, and the side retired. So Ivan De Jesus has rolled out to Montañez. 1 run. There was a bunt single. There was an error charged to Kevin Coble, and the run scored on a wild pitch. Nobody left on. At the end of 4 now at Wrigley Field, the Cubs 4 and the Mets 1. Inning number 5 now, and Tim Foley will lead off, and we pause for station identification. This is the New York Mets Baseball Network.
You know, when you're with old friends talking over the good old days, there's a perfect time to call on the king of beers. Budweiser tastes just as good now as it did then. WMCA, New York.
Bob Murphy with Ralph Kiner and Lindsey Nelson. We go to the fifth inning at Wrigley Field. The Cubs have a 4-1 lead. Tim Foley will be leading off. Tim is 0 for 1, retired on a pop fly. Now the windup by Ray Burris. Here's the pitch. Low outside, ball one. In the press box, apparently they are still deciding on whether to score that a wild pitch or a pass ball. And Ralph Kiner makes a very valid point. It might very well be a pass ball and not a wild pitch. The 1-0 delivery inside. The ball was never touched by John Stearns, but as Ralph points out, Coble did his job. He threw it right high and tight the way it should have been thrown to break up a squeeze play. Stearns should have known where it was going to be. Now outside and low, ball 3, 3-0. Ray Burris behind on Tim Foley. Low, ball 4, and Tim goes to first on 4 pitches. That is the second walk by Ray Burris. He has good control. He doesn't walk too many. And Doug Flynn coming up. Butch Metzger is on call in the bullpen for New York, indicating that Joe Torre may go to his bench with Kevin Coble due to bad next. Doug Flynn is 0 for 1. Doug bounced out to short. Had a throw to first by Ray Burris. Foley standing on the bag. Tim Foley is a thinking man's ball player. Here's the pitch on the way. Strike called on the inside corner.
Official score is going to look it up in the rule book.
Well, he has to account for that man coming home.
Run will be unearned in either way they score it.
Doug Flynn waiting at the plate. Burris fires. Ground ball toward the hole on the right side. Base hit going into right field. Foley around second is racing to third. The throw to third not in time. Now runners on first and third. A ground single to right. Rodney Scott, the second baseman, almost caught up with it because the infield is so slow after the heavy rains. Now Beauclair is called back, and Eddie Kranepool will be the pinch hitter. After the base hit by Doug Flynn, putting 2 men on. Joe Torre changes and goes to Kranepool. Ed Kranepool with runners on first and third and nobody out will be hitting for the pitcher Kevin Coble. Coble will get credit for pitching 2 innings. He allowed 1 run. It was unearned. Coble gave up 1 hit, and that was a bunt. Walked none and struck out 1. So it'll be Butch Metzger in the bottom half of the 5th inning. Kranepool needing only another pinch hit to move into 9th position. The all-time pinch hit standing. Ray Burris checking it out with Larry Cox. Kranepool waiting. And the pitch on the way. Inside and low, 1 ball and no strikes. Looks like Donnie Moore is going to get up in the Chicago Cub bullpen. Around comes the arm and a swing and a foul. No play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dave Geisel, a left-hander who recently came up from Wichita, warming up along with right-hander Donnie Moore. So the Cubs have their first warm-up action. Ray Burris running into trouble here in the top of the 5th inning. The Mets are casting a threat with runners at the corners and nobody out. 1 ball, 1 strike to Kranepool. In comes the pitch. And a high fly, well hit, deep to right field, way back going. There it goes. A home run for Eddie Kranepool. And the ball game is tied up. A pinch hit, 3-run homer by Eddie Kranepool. For Kranepool, his 2nd home run of the year. They both have been pinch home runs. And we have a new ball game. You'll recall the first week of the season, Crane Pool won a game with a pinch-hit home run with 2 out of the 9th inning at Shea Stadium when he hit it off Stan Monson of the Montreal Expos. And for Crane Pool, Ralph Gaynor, he moves up a notch in the all-time pinch-hit standard.
He is now tied Enos Slaughter for 9th place on the all-time pinch hit list with his 77th pinch hit. And it was a tremendous drive to right field. I believe that's the longest home run Crane Pool has ever hit.
What a shot that was. It was hit very high in the air, and it was hit into that deep well at right field. The wall is 353 feet away, and it knocked Ray Burris out of the ball game, and Donnie Moore is coming on to pitch. So Crane Pool with a 3-run pinch-hit home run, and the Mets are right back in it, Ralph.
Enos Slaughter had 77 pinch hits, and as a pinch hitter, Slaughter was a 252 hitter. He had 77 and 306 at bats. Crane Pool has tied him, and Ed is right around 300 as a pinch hitter. The next man on the list is Dalton Jones, who had 81, and then the 7th man on the all-time list, Elmer Vallow, who had 81. The leader, of course, is Smokey Burgess. Smokey with 144 pinch hits and a 286 lifetime batting average as a pinch hitter.
On the year as a pinch hitter, Eddie Crane Pool now has 8 for 23 with 2 home runs.
Eddie has the highest batting average of pinch hitters with that many times at bat in the history of baseball.
With his 8 pinch hits this year, Eddie Crane Pool has 8 runs batted in, and he has 2 home runs. So Ray Burris has been knocked out of the game. He worked 4 innings. He allowed 4 runs. He gave up 5 hits. He walked 2, and he struck out 1. And now Donnie Moore is in the ball game. Donnie Moore making his 35th appearance of the year. Lenny Randall, the batter. And as we resume play now with a new pitcher, Donnie Moore, it is inside and low, ball 1. Mets have come from behind. They were trailing 4-1. Crane Pool tying it with 1 swing of the bat. He must have hit that ball, Ralph, 450, maybe 500 feet. I don't know.
It's a long way.
Completely out of Wrigley Field and across the street. And a foul ball, 1 ball, 1 strike. So the game now is in the hands of the relief pitchers, Donnie Moore and Butch Metzger, who comes out of the last of the 5th inning. Inside and low, 2 balls and a strike. Any further runs the Mets would score here in this inning, though, would belong to Kevin Coble. Line drive, base hit to center field for Lenny Randall. Scooped up by center fielder Greg Gross and whipped back to the infield. Hard single to center by Lenny Randall. So Donnie Moore, who just checked into the game, giving up a hard single to center. And now the batter is Elliot Maddox. Nobody out. 4 men in a row have reached safely. Tim Foley started the rally. He drew a walk. Flynn singled to right. With runners on first and third, Joe Torre called Beauclair back, who was going to pinch hit until Flynn got the base hit. Then he put up Eddie Crane Pool, and Crane Pool tied the game. Throw the first, done in time.
Crane Pool, as a pinch hitter, has a lifetime 297 batting average with 5 home runs. That is number 1.
Throw to first, look out. Oh, that was close. He almost got picked off. Lenny Randall, for the first time, has his leg well to the extent that he can steal bases again. And he stole one yesterday at Shea Stadium. He had gone over a month without stealing a base because of a hamstring pull. Now Donnie Moore stepping up. The Mets 4 and the Cubs 4, and we're in the 5th inning at Wrigley Field. Donnie Moore off the stretch. Elliot Maddox takes low outside. Elliott is 0 for 2. He has flied to center and popped up to second. Dave Geisel, a left-hander. Warming up now in the Cub bullpen. Ray Burris has gone down to the bullpen to get more work in. Some pitchers will do that if they get knocked out early. Swing and a miss by Elliott Maddox, a ball and a strike. When they're in that regular starting rotation, whether it's every 4 days or every 5, if they're knocked out and they don't feel they've thrown 120 pitches or so, they'll go to the bullpen and continue to work. One ball and one strike. And a line drive base hit the left field for Elliott Maddox. Lenny Randall will turn second and hold there as Dave Kingman plays the ball back in. 5 in a row have reached safely. And Lee Mazzilli will be coming up. Now they need the spot in the bullpen. Burris will sit down and Lynn McLaughlin will get up. Cubs recently acquired Lynn McLaughlin from the Giants for Haiti Cruz. So Donnie Moore has faced 2 hitters, Lenny Randall and Elliott Maddox, and both have hit safely. Mike Rourke is going out to the mound now. Mike, a catcher during his major league days, is the pitching coach of the Chicago Cubs. And Mike Rourke goes out to talk with the pitcher. And breeze is kicking up. It's a little stronger, and it's a hitter's day at Wrigley Field. Lee Mazzilli hit a home run up the power alley in right center field, over the ivy, and up into the bleacher crowd in the 4th inning of the game. Now Mazzilli is coming to bat with 2 men on and nobody out. The third baseman, Ontiveros, will play in, anticipating a sacrifice. Steve Henderson on deck, and then Willie Montañez. Herman Franks has a left-hander and a right-hander, both working in the Cub bullpen. Donnie Moore, with runners on first and second and nobody out, ready now to pitch to Lee Mazzilli. Let's see if the bunt is on or if he swings away. He was set to swing away. It's inside and low, ball 1. Lee Mazzilli hitting .289. Lee now has 6 home runs and 30 runs batted in. Lenny Randall on second and Elliott Maddox on first, a couple of men who can run. Donnie Moore, a very slow worker between pitches. Game tied 4-4, top of the 5th inning. Now Donnie Moore checks the runners. The pitch to Mazzilli, and a high pop fly out behind second. Calling for it, Rodney Scott, the second baseman. He makes the catch, falls down. Randall tags up. Randall goes to third. Heady base running by Lenny Randall. Maybe they invoked the infield fly ruling. In any such case, Randall tagged up and raced to third. Rodney Scott caught the ball, fell over backwards, and the minute he started falling over backwards, Randall tagged up and took off for third base. So Mazzilli is out on a pop fly to Rodney Scott. Infield fly ruling, it simply means that the runner goes at his own risk. So it was very alert base running.
It's rule 1008A right at the top.
By Lenny Randall. Now runners on first and third, 1 down, Steve Henderson batting. Runners at first and third, and the batter is Steve Henderson. Donnie Moore off the stretch delivers. Inside and low, 1 ball and no strikes. Steve has 1 for 2. He's single to left, his first time up in the game. Lenny Randall on third, Elliott Maddox on first. Mets trying to go in front for the first time in the ballgame. Donnie Moore checking things out with Larry Cox. Here's the pitch on the way. The runner goes, and a drive well hit the center field. Gross cutting over, makes the catch. Tagged up is Randall. Randall racing home, and he will score. And now the Mets have the lead, 5-4. Elliott Maddox getting back to first base. Score then a sacrifice fly and a run batted in for Steve Henderson. His 37th run batted in. And now New York out in front, 5-4. Henderson hit a line drive toward right center. Gross had to come in and angle over toward right center on it, and he was able to make the catch. So Randall comes in to score. 4 runs have scored in the top of the 5th inning. The Mets lead Chicago 5-4 in the 5th, and the hitter coming up is Willie Montañez. Dave Geisel, a left-hander, and Lynn McLaughlin, a right-hander, have both completed their warm-ups in the Cub bullpen. They're both just standing around watching the ball game right now. Willie Montañez, 1 for 2. Willie, a hard single to right his last time up.
He's the put out. Give it to Foley. Take it away from third.
And the pitch on the way. And a well-hit fly ball to left center field. Back goes Gross to the warning track. It may go. It is gone. A home run for Willie Montañez. And now the Mets lead Chicago 7-4. They have scored 6 runs in the 5th inning. Montañez hitting the ball high and long to left center field. It cleared the ivy and landed on the green batter's eye in deep left center field. For Willie Montañez, his 11th home run of the year. He now has 47 runs batted in to move into a tie with the Padres' Dave Winfield for second place in the National League. And now Herman Franks goes out to the mound, and we're going to have a new pitcher. 2-run homer for Willie Montañez. A 6-run inning for the New York Mets, Ralph.
And the biggest inning of the year for the Mets as they score 6 runs to come from behind and take the lead by a score of 7-4.
So the Mets have hit 3 home runs here this afternoon. Mazzilli got the first one, a bases empty home run. Then Cranepool with 2 on. And now Montañez with a man on. Number 11 for Willie Montañez. We pause for station identification. This is the New York Mets Baseball Network.
Hey, if you like sports as much as I do, you know Budweiser goes great with any sport, whether you're a participant or spectator. Call on the king of beers, WMCA New York.
At the start of this inning, which has been a very big one for the New York Mets, Burris was on the mound. He walked Foley, Flynn singled, and Cranepool homered. That tied the game. Then in came Donnie Moore. He gave up singles to Randall and Maddox. He got Mazzilli on a pop fly. But Henderson drove a run in with a sacrifice fly, actually a line drive, caught by the center fielder. That put New York ahead 5-4, and Montañez hit a 2-run homer. John Stearns, the 9th man to bat in the inning, and he takes inside ball 1. So Donnie Moore worked 2/3 of 1 inning. He gave up 3 runs, 3 hits. And a ground ball towards second base. Rodney Scott up with it, throws on to first, just in time for the out. That brings the mock cheer from the Cub fans. The Mets batted around. They scored 6 runs. On 5 hits, nobody left. Now, at the end of 4.5 innings, the New York Mets 7 and the Chicago Cubs 4.
We will continue this game on the next cassette.
In the last of the 5th inning, Butch Metzger is on to hurl for New York. Butch worked 2 innings in relief against the Pirates at Shea Stadium yesterday and retired 6 in a row. He has not given up a run in his last 5 relief appearances. So Butch Metzger coming in. The game has turned around. The Mets were trailing 4-1 when they came to bat. Now they have a 3-run lead, 7-4. And the Mets have hit 3 home runs in the game. Mazzilli, Cranepool, and Montañez. For Chicago, Greg Gross is the batter, and he takes high and away, ball 1. In and over for a call strike, 1-1. Metzger, a fast worker on the mound, had a high fly hit the left field. Steve Henderson watching it as the wind carries it out. He makes the catch, and the wind almost carried the ball over his head. Boy, that wind is tricky out here this afternoon. It is a hitter's wind that is really sweeping the ball out. 1 out and nobody on. Now Bobby Mercer is the hitter. Mercer has drawn a walk and singled to right. Willie Montañez now has 11 home runs. Hit his first 5 this year on the road, the next 5 at Shea Stadium. And now he connects today at Wrigley Field. 1 ball, no strikes to Bobby Mercer. Fastball wide, ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Butch Metzger around with the arm, and that's outside, ball 3, 3-0. Dave Kingman is the on-deck batter. 3-0 delivery. He walked him on 4 pitches. Bobby Mercer goes to first with his second walk of the afternoon. It brings up Dave Kingman. Kingman has 2 for 2. Twice he has singled to left field. Each team has 8 hits in the game. Dave Kingman, 2 for 2. Kingman batting .230. Let's have the infield at double play depth. Pulled around to left against Kingman. Now Metzger's set. Swing on a miss, strike 1. First baseman Larry Bittner is on deck. A lot of action in baseball this afternoon at Wrigley Field. New York 7 runs on 8 hits. Had a soft line drive going through the middle for a base hit to center field. Now the Cubs have 2 men on. Kingman getting his 3rd straight hit. That was a soft liner right over the middle. Larry Bittner will be coming up. Runners on first and second, 1 man away, last of the 5th inning. That was Kingman's 3rd hit, the 9th of the game for Chicago. The way the wind is blowing out this afternoon, there's no telling what this final score may be. We are playing in the last of the 5th inning. Metzger, the 3rd pitcher to work for Joe Torre's New York Mets. And the pitch on the way, strike called at the knees. The on-deck hitter for the Cubs is Steve Ontiveros. Metzger ready. High, inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Bobby Mercer on second and Dave Kingman on first. 1 man away in the last of the 5th inning with New York ahead 7-4. Breaking ball, low inside, 2-1. This is the kind of game that keeps the managers pacing the dugout floor. 2-1 delivery, low inside, ball 3. A walk here, and the bases would be loaded. Metzger walked Bobby Mercer, and Kingman then singled to center. Now Dale Murray is going down to the bullpen. Now Metzger checks the runners. The pitch on the way, and a line drive, base hit to left center field. Mercer around third. He'll come home to score, and it's a 7-5 ball game, and the tying runs are on base. Bittner, a line single to left center field. second RBI in the game for Larry Bittner, and now the infield gathers around. Paul Siebert will go down and warm up along with Dale Murray. Ralph Kiner, this is one of those days you just can't seem to have enough pitching.
Well, Wrigley Field in the summertime with the wind blowing out is a hitter's paradise. It's a small ballpark, and, of course, the wind blows hard. I would say it has picked up to where it's around 15 to 20 miles an hour and blowing out. Anything in the air, well, it'll ride.
Switch hitter Steve Ontiveros, batting left-handed, standing in. Runners on first and second. Ontiveros, 1 for 2, ground ball headed toward the hole. Base hit off the glove of Doug Flynn. Kingman around third, stopping there. Throw to second, not in time. Bases loaded. Beautiful play by Flynn, who made a headlong dive. Smothered the ball, not completely, but he did knock it down. It rolled into short right field. And now the bases are loaded. That's another base hit. Third in a row off Metzger. Here comes Joe Torre. Joe Torre coming out to the mound to talk to Butch Metzger. It is 7-5 New York, and now the Cubs have the bases loaded, 1 out. This will be all for Metzger. Dale Murray will come in. Dale Murray will come in the game.
Dale Murray will be.
So Metzger leaves. He retired only 1 batter. Butch gave up 3 hits, and he walked 1. Willie Hernandez warming up in the Cub bullpen. Dale Murray, last relieved in the 11-inning victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates, worked the last 2 innings and was the winner. That was on Friday night, so he's fairly well rested as he comes in the ballgame. And with the pitching change being made, for those of you who joined us late, Ralph Kiner will give you a check on how they'll line up in the major leagues tonight.
Everything tonight in the National League. Philadelphia playing in Montreal. The Phillies have won 5 straight. They've taken the lead in the Eastern Division of the National League, leading the Cubs by 2, and Montreal by 3, Pittsburgh by 4.5. Steve Carlton against Steve Rogers. St. Louis playing Pittsburgh. Vukovic and Robinson the opposition on the pitching mound. Dodgers play Atlanta. The Dodgers in third place, 6 games back of the Giants. Roden against Devine in that one. Cincinnati playing Houston. Cincinnati 2.5 games back of the Giants. San Francisco playing San Diego. The Padres have won 5 in a row. It's Vida Blue in that San Francisco game. Blue with a record of 10-4 has pitched shutouts his last 2 times out. Incidentally, Seaver pitching for Cincinnati in the game in Houston. Seaver with a record of 8-5. In the American League, Boston against the Yankees. Dennis Eckersley, 7-2 for the year against Andy Messerschmidt, 0-1. Baltimore playing Toronto. Baltimore will have Mike Flanagan on the mound. Toronto will go with Tom Underwood. Minnesota against Milwaukee. Gary Serm against Larry Sorensen. Chicago playing Seattle. Francisco Barrios against Paul Mitchell. Kansas City against California. Rich Gale against Frank Tanana. Tanana has won 11 and lost but 3. And Detroit playing Cleveland. Billingham against Don Hood.
Dave Kingman on third. Larry Bittner on second. Steve Ontiveros on first. The batter is switch hitter Rodney Scott, the second baseman. He's 2 for 2, both infield hits. Wide, ball 1. Dale Murray now pitching in relief. 7-5 New York, 1 man away. Left-hand hitter at the moment, Rodney Scott. Larry Cox, the on-deck batter. Paul Siebert throwing in the bullpen. The 1-0 delivery, strike called at the knees, 1 ball and 1 strike. Cubs now have 11 hits in the game. Metzger got the first batter out, but then walked a batter and gave up 3 hits in a row. Dale Murray, with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike, turns his back to the plate. Rodney Scott getting out of the batter's box to tighten up the batting gloves. Scott, a switch hitter, batting left against Dale Murray, now into the set position. At a high foul, wafted behind third, no play. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Dave Kingman on third, Larry Bittner on second, Steve Ontiveros on first. Now the stretch, here's the pitch. And a drive in the air to left field. Henderson coming in, makes the catch. Here's Kingman coming home the throw, and Kingman puts on the brakes and goes back to third. Had he tried to score, he would have been out by about 10 yards. What a throw by Steve Henderson. He certainly has an improved throwing arm. So a line drive hit by Rodney Scott, caught by Steve Henderson. Now Dave Rader is going to hit for Larry Cox. Rader is the regular catcher, batting at .216 on the year. And Rader will go behind the plate. Cox a right-hand hitter, Rader a left-hand hitter. With Dale Murray in the game and the bases loaded, Herman Franks puts Rader up to bat. Glenn McLaughlin is out of the on-deck circle. 2 men away, the bases loaded. New York leading 7-5, bottom half of the fifth inning. Now the stretch by Dale Murray. Here's the pitch. And a well-hit fly ball to deep right field. Way back, it may go. A grand slam home run. Grand slam home run to deep right center field. And the Cubs regain the lead. They are now in front 9-7. And the crowd explodes here at Wrigley Field. It was only his second home run of the year. Pinch hit, grand slam home run, and what kind of a game do we have here today? It is now 9-7 Chicago. And now Lynn McLaughlin stays in the game and will hit. So Metzger has been charged with 4 runs, 1 to Dale Murray. Foul ball down the left field line, no play. Cubs coming right back to score 5 runs and take the lead back. It is now 9-7. And a foul off to the left, no play, strike 2. Lynn McLaughlin, the pitcher, is batting. Dave Rader put up the bat for Larry Cox to get the left-hand hitter up instead of the right. And he connected for a grand slam home run. Now the pitch on the way and a bouncer foul, no play, strike 2. First career grand slam for catcher Dave Rader. He had been in a batting slump. That's why he wasn't catching. Well, when the situation came up, he delivered. And a line drive hit hard. A base hit to right field going all the way back to the wall. McLaughlin around first is on his way to second, and he is in with a double. Hits for the Cubs here in the bottom half of the fifth inning. Now Rube Walker will pay a visit to the pitching mound. Cubs now have 9 runs on 13 hits. The New York Mets 7 runs on 8 hits. Chicago led 3-0, then 3-1, then they led 4-1. The Mets got 5 on home runs by Crane Poole and Montañez to go ahead 7-5. The Cubs have taken it right back by scoring 5 runs. It is 9-7. Billy Williams, the plate umpire, doing his paperwork, making sure that the changes are all there. Now the hitter is Ivan De Jesus. He is the leadoff batter, and he's the 9th man to bat in the inning. Here's the pitch by Dale Murray and a strike call. Dale Murray came in with the bases loaded, 1 down. He got Rodney Scott out on a line drive caught by Henderson, but pinch hitter Dave Rader hit a grand slam, and Lynn McLaughlin has doubled to right field. So all 3 hitters have hit the ball hard. Foul ball back into the crowd. 5 runs have scored in this half inning. 4 charged to Metzger and 1 to Dale Murray. Each team batting around in the 5th inning. The Mets scored 6 runs in the top half of the 5th. The Cubs have come back to score 5 in the last half of the 5th inning. 11 runs have scored in the 5th inning. Now the pitch, outside and low, 1 ball, 2 strikes. So the only effective relief work so far today for New York has come from Kevin Coble. The 1-2 delivery missed the outside corner. 2-2 to De Jesus. De Jesus, the leadoff batter, is 0 for 2 with a walk. 9-7. Cubs lead by 2 as they bat here in the home 5th inning. For the Cubs, it is at the moment a 5-run inning. Lynn McLaughlin is on second and 2 men away. Low outside, ball 3, 3-2. This is one of those hot summer days with the wind blowing out. A hitter's paradise. Dale Murray goes 3-2 on Ivan De Jesus. Now he checks the runner at second. Here's the pitch. Line drive to left field. It'll be a base hit. It's by Henderson, who tries to shoestring it. Goes to the wall. McLaughlin will score. And De Jesus goes around second with a double. Henderson tried to shoestring it. Made a dive, somersaulted, couldn't get the ball. Mazzilli had to run it down all the way to the ivy. It will be scored a double for De Jesus, driving home McLaughlin. And now it is 10-7 Chicago. What an inning. Each team has now scored 6 runs in the 5th inning. Greg Gross, who led off this inning against Metzger and flied to left, is now batting for the second time. 12 runs have scored in the 5th inning of the game. The pitch. Inside and low, it's ball 1. Dale Murray has faced 4 batters, and all 4 have punished the ball. Bobby Mercer, the on-deck batter, he started things with a walk. And Dale Murray missing inside and low, ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Dale Murray has given up 2 doubles and a home run. The only batter he retired, Rodney Scott, hit a line drive to Henderson. Now Murray behind on Greg Gross. The 2-0 delivery, strike called on the outside corner, 2-1. Gross has 1 for 3. Greg Gross, line drive type hitter, batting at .293, a left-hand hitter. 6 runs on 6 hits for the Cubs in this inning. And a high fly to center. The wind's going to carry it deep. Back goes Maddox and Mazzilli. Maddox makes the catch. The wind swept the ball deep to the outfield in right center, and Elliot Maddox pulled it in. So, 10 men came to bat, 6 runs, 6 hits, 1 left. Now, at the end of 5, and the Cubs get a standing ovation, the Cubs 10 and the Mets 7.
How would you like to be the guest of Derry Lee and see the New York Mets in action right here at Shea Stadium? Well, sure you would, and it's easy. Just save the coupons printed on Derry Lee or Derry Lean milk containers. The average family could save enough coupons in 1 week to get 1 free ticket. You have your choice of 20 games during the season. There's one on every day of the week, day or night. So regardless of the hours that you might work, you can come see the Mets free on Dairy Lee. All the exciting details are printed on the side panel of the milk containers, and they're on sale in the dairy case of your favorite food store. So why don't you start drinking Dairy Lee or Dairy Lean milk today? And be sure that you save those coupons, and then come on out and see a New York Mets game absolutely free. When you get here, we'll be glad to see you.
Well, we go now to inning number 6. Ralph Kiner, we still have 4 innings to go. Only 12 runs scored in the 5th inning. There's just no way of knowing what the final score may be here today.
Well, I do know this, that in all the years the Mets have been playing, dating back to 1962, I'd have to venture that the 5th inning saw more runs cross home plate than in the history of the Mets baseball.
I wouldn't doubt it at all. What an inning that was. Dale Murray, everything he threw was going out like a rocket there.
19 batters batted. There were 12 runs scored and a total of 11 base hits in the 5th inning. The Mets had the lead. They were leading by a score of 7-4, but with the Cubs coming back with 6, it's now 10-7, and it's the Mets' turn. And the leadoff batter, Tim Foley. Lynn McLaughlin pitching for the Cubs, and a line drive to left field, a base hit for Foley. So the Mets, who batted around in the 9th inning, I should say in the 5th inning, now come up with a base hit here as Foley singles to left field, and that'll bring up Doug Flynn. Flynn with a base hit and 2 times up. McLaughlin, a right-hand pitcher, now working from the set position. First baseman Bittner off the bag to get some more defensive room, and the first pitch to Doug Flynn is taken outside, a ball. Action starting up in the bullpen again for the Mets. Paul Sievert back to throw. After Flynn, the pitcher's position in the batting order, and Beauclair is out in the on-deck circle. Now pitch for a ball. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
That is their high for runs in an inning this season.
Mets got their high for runs in a single half inning, and then the Mets gave up their high for runs in half an inning. And a pitch for a ball. That's 3 balls, no strikes. 6 runs scored by the Cubs. Their high for runs in an inning. And a pitch back is called a strike, 3-1. 3 balls, 1 strike. And McLaughlin back with his pitch. It's low, ball 4, and the Mets have runners at first and second, and they have the time run at the plate, and the batter coming up will be pinch hitter Bruce Beauclair. Mike Rourke, the pitching coach of the Cubs, going out to the mound. Dave Geisen starting to throw in the bullpen for the Cubs, a left-hander. Mets now with runners at first and second, no one out in this battle of the runs. Beauclair, a pinch hitter. Earlier, Beauclair had been in the on-deck circle to pinch hit, but when the Mets got 2 men on, Joe Torre switched to Ed Kranepool, and Kranepool had a pinch hit home run. Tied up the ball game. Kranepool's 77th pinch hit to tie him with Enos Slaughter for 9th place in the all-time pinch hit list. So now it's Beauclair's turn. He steps in, and McLaughlin makes contact with the pitching rubber and looks in for the sign. And the right-hander ready. Here's the pitch, and it's high and outside. 1 ball, no strikes. McLaughlin coming to the Cubs from the San Francisco Giants has no record. No wins, no losses, no saves. This is his 16th game. And the 1-0 pitch to Beauclair, a called strike at the knees over the inside corner. McLaughlin with the Giants had an earned run average of 4.74. With the Cubs, his ERA is 4.50. He has made 1 start. And the big right-hander with the 1-1 pitch. It's grounded out to the first baseman, Bittner, who throws to the shortstop covering at second. The return throw to the pitcher covering at first is not in time. And on the force play at second base, Foley moves to third. So now runners at first and third, 1 man out, and Lenny Randall, the batter. Randall 1 for 3. Randall singled in the big 6-run 5th. Lenny hitting at 229. And the first pitch to Randall, batting from the left-hand side, is taken high. Infield set at double play depth. At short and second, third baseman in for a play either way. And the pitch back to Randall is low. 2 balls, no strike. Cubs have been a tough ball club in this ballpark. They have won 13 of their last 15 games here at Wrigley Field, and overall they're 19-9. There are 3 games over 500 for the season with 35 wins, 32 losses. 2-0 pitch to Randall, a drive to right field. It's back, going back is Mercer, and he makes a one-handed leaping catch right against the wall. And Randall robbed of an extra base hit, but he gets a run batted in on the sacrifice fly as Foley comes in to score. Randall's 15th RBI, and that ball, a line shot, putting Mercer right back against the wall. He had to jump high in the air to one-handed, and it was a good play by Mercer. So now the Mets have cut the lead to 2 as they score here in the 6th inning, and the batter coming up, Elliot Maddox, who has a base hit and 3 times up. Maddox singled to left field in the 6-run 5th inning. 1 for 3. He has a batting average of .268, and the first pitch by McLaughlin is inside a ball. Cubs 10 and the Mets 8. 2 men out. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Beauclair at first base, and the next pitch is hit down the right field line. It's in foul territory and back into the stand. So Beauclair back to first base, and they counted 1 ball and 1 strike. Maddox has not had a home run this year. He's driven in 13. He's had 41 base hits. And if there was ever a time to get a home run, the elements are certainly for it here in this ballpark today. And McLaughlin now sets up and then breaks contact with the pitching rubber and goes to the rosin bag. Once again, he makes contact, and here's the pitch. And it's a drive down the left field line. If it's fair, it's extra bases, but it is foul. So Maddox now with the count of 1 ball, 2 strikes. One and 2, a foul ball. We pause for station identification. This is the New York Mets Baseball Network.
This is WMCA, Strauss Communications in New York. 57 on your AM dial. The radio home of the New York Mets.
Ralph Kiner along with Bob Murphy and Lindsey Nelson. And the next pitch to Maddox is taken high and inside. A fastball tight. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Beauclair, the runner at first base, and the next pitch to Maddox, grounded deep in the hole, cut off, though, by the third baseman, Ontiveros. And his play as he goes to second base to Rodney Scott, retires the side. In the inning, the Mets get 1 on 1 base hit, and they left 1 man on. And the score at the end of 5.5 innings, it's the Cubs 10 and the New York Mets 8.
It's County Federal's great 1978 Gift for Thrift Jubilee. And it's your chance to get great gifts for new deposits at County Federal's offices in Rockville Center and in Queens. 40 superb gifts to choose from. Kodak cameras and GE radios, blankets and tote bags, and lots more. And you get your choice free with a qualifying deposit. 1 gift to a depositor while they last, and minimum deposit must remain in your account 14 months. Win a 12-inch black and white portable TV free, no deposit necessary. Just fill out an entry blank at your nearest participating branch in Rockville Center, 53 North Park Avenue, or 666 Sunrise Highway. In Astoria, at 3027 Steinway Street, or at 7521 Main Street in Kew Garden Hills. There'll be a drawing every week at each of the 4 branches. Every account at County Federal is insured by an agency of the U.S. government up to the legal limit. Make a qualifying deposit now. Get a free gift only at County Federal's offices in Rockville Center, Astoria, and Kew Gardens Hills.
Paul Siebert, the new pitcher for the Mets. Siebert with a record of 0-1. He's had 1 save. Save coming on the 13th of June, and his 1 loss coming on the 24th. His last time out, he picked up the loss against the Pittsburgh Pirates, working 2 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs on 6 base hits. Siebert with an earned run average of 4.80, the 5th pitcher used by Joe Torre here today. The starter was Mike Brewer. He lasted 2, charged with 4 runs on 7 hits. Kevin Kogel pitched 2 innings of good baseball, no runs, 1 hit. Went out for pinch hitter Metzger, pitched 1/3 of an inning, charged with 4 runs on 3 hits. Murray worked 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, and now Paul Siebert. Siebert, a left-hander, and he'll be working to the left-hand batter Bobby Mercer as his first batter, and the first pitch, a fastball, a called strike. Mercer has walked twice and scored twice. He also has had a base hit, so Mercer's been on all 3 times. Has an average of 252 with 3 home runs, 23 RBIs. And Siebert back with a breaking ball that is high and inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. One ball, 1 strike. Siebert back and catching the outside corner around the belt. That puts the count at 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cubs led 3-0, then 3-1, then 4-1. The Mets then led 7-4, and the Cubs took a 10-7 lead, and the Mets cut 1 off, and it is now 10-8 with no one out, the bottom half of the 6th inning. Ground ball hit to the second baseman, Doug Flynn, who handles it perfectly. The throw to first base for the out. That will bring up Dave Kingman, and with the wind blowing out and the home runs being hit in this ball game, Kingman has none, but he has had 3 singles. Kingman hitting .234. He leads the club in home runs with 14. That's 3rd in the National League. He has driven in 39. Kingman with his 3 for 3, raising his average from .223 to .234. And the first pitch is strike. Kingman made a pronouncement before the game that he was going to try and hit everything to right field from now on. And a pitch that's low, it's 1 ball, 1 strike. He singled the left field in the first inning, singled the left field in the 3rd, and singled the center field in the 5th. The 1-1 pitch to Kingman. A curveball grounded toward the shortstop, cut off by Randall, and a throw to first base to Montañez. And Kingman is out for the first time. Incidentally, Kingman has struck out 69 times in his last 60 games, which is all the games that he has played this year. Over a strikeout a ball game. But still coming up with home runs, as he is capable of doing, has that tremendous power. Had one of his greatest days right in this ballpark playing for the Mets. Now with 2 men out, the batter will be Larry Bittner. Bittner with 2 hits and 3 times up. One time they got him out, he lined into a double play. Bittner, a left-hand batter, batting at .278. He takes the first pitch. It's ball 1. Paul Sievert's next pitch, too low. 2 balls, no strikes. Bittner with 3 home runs, 25 RBIs. Doesn't bat much against left-hand pitching. Cubs without the services of Bill Buckner, who is an outstanding ball player, probably their best hitter. Ground ball topped out through the middle, going over to his right side is Flynn. It takes a bad hop, the ball does. Flynn handles it and then throws to first base for an out. And after scoring 6 runs in the 5th inning, the Cubs go down 1, 2, 3 in the 6th. The score at the end of 6, it's the Cubs 10 and the New York Mets 8.
In 1969, Jackie Stewart won his first World Racing Drivers' Championship. He repeated in 1971, then again in 1973. What Jackie Stewart doesn't know about cars hasn't been written.
I do know that cars just don't perform the way they used to. One of the reasons is the unleaded gasoline that the new engines call for. Unfortunately, most unleadeds don't have the power that gasolines used to have. Well, Getty Unleaded Regular does. It delivers the kind of power you got from gasoline before they took the lead out. Getty Unleaded Regular actually delivers more power than most other major unleadeds. As an ex-racing driver, that appeals to me. And while Getty Unleaded Regular delivers more power, it costs less than most other major unleadeds. I don't know how Getty does it. But as a Scotsman, that really appeals to me.
Getty Unleaded Regular. More power for less money.
We're going now to the top of the 7th inning. Mets coming up with Lee Mazzilli to lead off. Mets are trailing by 2. Mazzilli's batting for the 4th time. His first 3 times, I saw him get 1 home run. It was his 6th home run of the year, tying his output for his rookie year last year. Lee Mazzilli had his first Major League home run right here in this ballpark in his 2nd time up. So Mazzilli stepping up. Lee will be followed by Steve Henderson and Willie Montañez. And the Mets need 2 to tie. On the mound for the Cubs, Lynn McLaughlin. He came in the game in the 5th inning when the Mets got 6 runs to take the lead. They lost it when the Cubs came in the bottom of the 5th inning with 6. Mazzilli now with 6 home runs, 30 RBIs. And McLaughlin with his pitch, and Mazzilli takes it outside. Only game going in the major leagues, but enough runs to fill up a league. Here's the pitch back to Mazzilli. It's top foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cubs have had 10 runs on 14 hits. The Mets have had 8 runs on 9 base hits. And the right-hander's 1-1 pitch is taken high. Mazzilli out to bunt, but the pitch out of the strike zone. 2 balls, 1 strike. I don't know, Lindsay. If I had a wind blowing like this, I don't think I'd be bunting.
I wouldn't think so. On a day like this, you got a good chance if you can get it up in the air.
Need a lot of runs, and the pitch back is hit deep down the right field side, foul. And the count at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Mazzilli, Montañez, and Kranepool home runs for the Mets in this game. Montañez getting his 11th, and Kranepool his 2nd. And Eds came as a pinch hitter. And he came with 2 men on base to tie up the game. 2-2 the count, and the pitch is hit deep to left field. Going back is Kingman to the warning track, but he'll get to it, and he does. For the Cubs, a pinch hit grand slam home run by Dave Rader. His first ever in his major league career, and his second home run of this season. Big blow. So Mazzilli out to deep left field, and Steve Henderson coming up. Steve 1 for 2 with a run batted in. Drove in a run with a sacrifice fly. Henderson batting .255. Now has 37 RBIs to go with his 7 home runs. And McLaughlin's first pitch to Henderson, taken high and inside the ball. Bright, sunshiny day. The temperature at game time, 82.
12,188, 12188.
And the 1-0 pitch to Anderson, taken outside. 2 balls, no strikes.
701, 12701.
Paid attendance here today, 12,188. Cubs are about 130,000 ahead of last year's home attendance pace. And they came into this game with a paid attendance of 509,345. It's the most the Cubs have ever had after 28 home dates. So the Cubs doing well. A pitch for a called strike, 2-1. They're averaging around 18,000 a game. Top ball down the third base side, foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Wrigley Field, an old ballpark, but one of the best to watch a ball game. Built back in 1916, but it has very good viewing seats. And, of course, they play no night ball here at Wrigley Field. There are no lights. So you get sort of a picnic atmosphere when you come to the ballpark. People treat it as fun in the sun, and that's what it is here today. 2-2, a lot of action. Here's the pitch, and it's a deep drive to center field, going back to center fielder, and it will be over his head. It's out of the park, and a home run for Steve Henderson. For Henderson, his 8th home run of the year.
Number 8 for Henderson on a 2-2 pitch, number 8.
Steve Henderson with a home run, and the Mets now are within 1. It's the Cubs 10 and the Mets 9. Mets now with their 4th home run. It's the first time this year the Mets have had 4 home runs in a game. Only 2 home runs that Henderson has hit on the road this year have been right here at Wrigley Field. And action starting up in the bullpen now for the Chicago Cubs, and there's a sign as Herman Franks goes to the mound to bring in the left-hander. So it's going to be Geisel, who has been throwing off and on all day long. Dave Geisel, it will be his 5th appearance. He's made 1 start, and he has no wins and no losses. Last time out, he was against Philadelphia. That was on the 23rd. He did not retire a batter as he gave up 2 hits and allowed 1 run. In his 1 start, it was at Houston. The Cubs lost the game 5-4, but he was not involved in the decision. And this is the first time the Mets will have a look at Dave Geisel. So while he warms up, we'll check out the schedule with you with Lindsey Nelson.
All right, Ralph Conner, there's no other action going in the Major Leagues this afternoon. It's all-night action, and up in Montreal, the Philadelphia Phillies take on the Montreal Expos. The Phillies, of course, have won 5 in a row. They just swept the Chicago Cubs at home, and it'll be Steve Carlton, 8-6, going against Steve Rogers, 8-7. St. Louis Cardinals are in Pittsburgh tonight, and that is Pete Vukovich against Don Robinson. First, they will complete a suspended game of April 23rd, with Pitt leading 5-4 after 6 innings. The Los Angeles Dodgers are in Atlanta tonight. It's Rick Rhoden, 6-3, against Adrian Devine, 4-3. Cincinnati Reds are at Houston. It is Tom Seaver, 8-5 for Cincinnati against Joaquin Andujar, 3-4 for Houston. Cincinnati Reds have won 8 of their last 11 games, and the Houston Astros have lost 4 in a row. San Francisco Giants are at San Diego. The division-leading Giants have won 13 of 17, but the Padres have also put together a streak. They won 5 straight. Vida Blue against Bobochenko. The American League, Boston in New York, Baltimore at Toronto, Minnesota at Milwaukee, Chicago at Seattle, Kansas City at California, Detroit at Cleveland. Here in Chicago, we're ready, and here's Ralph Kiner.
We will be back on side 2 to continue the game.
Okay, Dave Geisel will be working to left-hand hitting Willie Montanez. Geisel, a left-hand pitcher. Mets need 1 to tie, and Montanez already with a home run in this ball game, his 11th of the year. He's had 2 hits and 3 times up, and the first pitch by Geisel is taken high, a fastball, ball 1. Fourth pitcher used by the Cubs manager Herman Franks, and the pitch back. Swing and a miss, a hard swing, 1 and 2. Makes that 1 and 1. Montanez hit his home run in the 5th inning. Came with 2 men on base, and it was to straightaway center field over the 400-foot mark. Montanez now with 47 RBIs, and he pops one up back of home plate. The wind will be a factor. Going over after it is the catcher, Dave Rader. He can't get to it. It drops, and the first baseman, Bittner, could not get to it. That ball goes up. No telling where it will come down. See whether or not an error will be charged on the play. The ball was hit high, but nobody could track it down. So Montanez with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Geisel's next pitch hit hard to center field. Back to deep center field goes to center fielder Greg Gross, and he makes the catch. So Mazzilli flying out hard to left. Henderson with a home run. Geisel now giving up a hard out to center field. 2 men away, and the Mets need 1 to tie. John Stearns coming up. Bruce Sutter, their ace relief pitcher for the Cubs, starting to warm up. Cubs 10 and the Mets 9. 2 men out. We're in the top of the 7th inning. Stearns 0 for 3, and he looks at the fastball. Strike 1 called. Stearns batting .254. Stearns has had 5 home runs so far this year. And you think home run when you see this ballpark. And a high fly ball hit out toward right field. Coming up with the ball is Bobby Mercer. The second baseman, Rodney Scott, going back, and he makes an over-the-shoulder catch. And the side retired. 1 run on the home run by Steve Henderson. No one left on base, and the score at the end of 6.5 innings, it's the Cubs 10 and the Mets 9. Well, the best buy in baseball yearbooks has traditionally been the New York Mets official yearbook, and the 1978 edition is certainly no exception. It contains 64 pages, half in color, filled with highlights such as a 2-page team picture suitable for framing, a dramatic photo of the 4 greatest center fielders in New York baseball history from last year's All-Timers Day ceremonies, color pictures of the 1977 All-Star teams, and a photo quiz of former Mets to test your memory. As you are well aware, the Mets roster has changed dramatically over the past year, and there's no better way to keep tab on the team than with your own yearbook full of pictures, biographies, and statistics of Mets players old and new. Don't forget, the price of the 1978 Mets yearbook remains the lowest in baseball, only $1 a shade, $1.25 by mail. Pick up your copy at the ballpark or order now by mail. Simply send a check or money order for $1.25 to Mets Yearbook Box 10, Flushing, New York, 11352. That's $1.25, check or money order to Mets Yearbook Box 10, Flushing, New York, 11352. To the bottom of the 7th inning. Cubs leading 10-9. And an enthusiastic crowd here watching a wild ball game. Cubs led 3-0 after the first inning. The Mets got their first run in the 4th on a home run by Lee Mazzilli, but the Cubs came back to score one in the bottom of the 4th to lead 4-1. Mets got 6 runs in the 5th inning to lead by a score of 7-4. But the Cubs came back with 6 runs in the bottom half of the 5th, and they took the lead 10-7. The Mets got a solo run in the 7th inning, and then got another make that in the 6th inning, and another in the 7th. And it's now a 10-9 game. Cubs coming up. Paul Siebert on the mound. And the first batter will be Stevan Taveras, batting from the right-hand side for the first time. 2 for 3 in the game, batting left-handed. On Taveras hitting .226. Siebert worked a 1-2-3 inning, his first inning at work, and he misses with his first pitch for a ball. And the pitch back, a fastball, foul back out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cubs have out-hit the Mets 14-10. And Siebert now looking for the signs. His catcher, John Stearns, and they are out, and here's the pitch. Siebert misses high with a fastball. 2 balls, 1 strike. Cubs started their action 2 games back of the Philadelphia Phillies. Next pitch is hit foul into the stands to count 2-2. And the Cubs dropping out of first place, losing 6 in a row, 4 of them to the Philadelphia Phillies. They've lost 8 of their last 9. Last year at this time, the Cubs were leading by 7 1/2 games with a record 10 games better than their record this year. Check swing, bouncing ball back to the mound. Taken on 1 hop by Siebert. And the throw to first base retires on Taveras. That will bring up Rodney Scott, who's had 2 hits, both infield hits, and 3 times up. Scott was credited with a steal of home in the 4th inning. He beat out a bunt for a base hit, and when Kevin Coble threw the ball away, he ended up at second base. He stole third, his first stolen base in the National League. And then with the pitcher up, at that time it was Wade Burris. Squeeze play was put on, a suicide squeeze. There's a pitch for a strike. Coble threw the pitch right at Ray Burris, and Burris tried to bunt it while he was trying to get out of the way, and did bunt at the ball. It was missed by the bat and missed by the catcher. There's a swing and a foul ball back out of play, strike 2. And on the play, Burris was struck out, and Rodney Scott was credited with the stolen base. A steal of home. Unusual play, you don't see much in baseball. There's a hard drive to left field as Scott jumped on the pitch by Siebert, and he goes to first base and holds there. So Scott, a very fast man, is on, and the batter coming up is Dave Rader, who had a grand slam home run as a pinch hitter in the 5th inning. And he gets a big hand from this crowd here at Wrigley Field. Rader had been having a lot of hitting problems till he came up as a pinch hitter. Left-hand batter. It is pinch hit grand slam home run off right-hander Dale Murray. And the first pitch is inside, a check swing foul ball. Excuse me, foul ball. Rader was trying to get out of the way. Manny Trio throwing in the bullpen. The starting second baseman who has been injured. 1 strike to count. A throw to first base. Almost thrown away. Good play on it by Montañez. Mick Kelleher is throwing in the bullpen with Trio. So we might see a defensive substitution. And a throw to first base, and again it's almost thrown away by Siebert. This time Montañez had to make a leaping catch of a ball thrown almost completely away. So Montañez now comes over to say something to his pitcher.
That was in the 13-inning ball game.
15 base hits for the Cubs. They're high this year. Both clubs reaching a high for runs scored in an inning. The Mets got 6 and the Cubs got 6. Throw to the plate and a half swing. Strike is the call by home plate umpire Billy Williams. Two strikes to count as Siebert sets up again, and here's the pitch. It's in the dirt, and it is blocked by Stearns, and Stearns quickly gets to it and holds the runner at first base. 7 of the hits off Mike Brewer, the starting pitcher. 1 off Coble, 3 off Metzger, 3 off Murray, and now 1 off Siebert. No Met pitcher has lasted more than 2 innings, although Coble pitched well in his 2. He was taken out for a pinch hitter with the Mets trailing. And now a ground ball hit foul. The count stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Coble at one point was a pitcher record on the winning side. But Metzger took that away from him. Metzger and Murray both very ineffective in their stint on the mound after the Mets had taken the lead. And now a pitch for a ball. It's 2-2. The 2 of them credited with 1 inning of work. Metzger got a 3rd and Murray got 2/3. Gave up 6 runs on 6 hits. A runner goes. A pitch inside. A throw by Stearns. Perfect. And that is it. Rodney Scott thrown out for the first time this year. He's had 2 stolen bases, both in this game. And perfect throw by Stearns as Foley took the throw and made the tag. So the count goes to 3-2. Cubs lose a base runner, and Paul Siebert working from the windup. And here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled back. Fastball fouled off. The count remains 3 balls, 2 strikes. Once again, Stearns with the signs, and Siebert misses Hine inside with a fastball, and Dave Rader walks. That puts a runner at first with 2 men out and brings up the pitcher. And the pitcher is being called back, Dave Geisel. We're going to have a pinch hitter. It's going to be former Met Mike Vail. So the Mets will be seeing Mike Vail in the Cub uniform for the first time. Vail was obtained from the Cleveland Indians. And there's an interesting story involved with that. Vail went to the minor leagues, and he had a clause in his contract that if he got to the major leagues, that if he hit 300, he could renegotiate his contract. Well, he got his average over 300 in just a few games with Cleveland, and then went to Gabe Paul, the general manager of the ball club, and wanted the raise. It was shortly after that he was traded to the Cubs. So Mike Vail stepping up. Vail batting .200 with 1 base hit for the Cubs. Right-hand batter. The Mets play him slightly toward the left field side, and the first pitch by Siebert, a fastball. Swung on a miss, strike 1. Vail broke in with the Mets with a real bang. He hit in 23 consecutive ball games, tying a record for a rookie. Then he injured a foot and never regained that type of form. Pitch back to Vail, a hard smash taken on one hop by Randall. He throws to second for the force play, and that retires the side. No runs, 1 hit. And 1 man left on base, and the score. At the end of 7, it's the Cubs 10 and the Mets 9.
I must be seeing double. Those guys riding that bicycle built for 2 both look like Edmund Man.
Right you are, Virginia. But then I'm always beside myself when pick-a-pear time rolls around. That's when everybody says my favorite word twice.
Budweiser?
Right again. Just look for me, both of me, on the pick-a-pear display at your favorite store. Take home not 1, but 2 6-packs of the king of beers. And this year, pick-a-pear time will be rolling from now right through the 4th of July weekend. That'll give you plenty of great times to enjoy the easy taste of a Budweiser. Or 2.
Guess I'll be seeing you real soon, Ed. Both of you, in fact.
And don't forget to say it twice.
Budweiser, Budweiser.
Smart girl. Right, partner? Yes, indeed, Edward. Now let's pedal these 6-pack home.
Bye, fellas.
See you soon. A farewell, my chickadee.
When you say Budweiser,
You said it.
Bud.
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
We're going now to the top of the 8th. We pause for station identification. This is the New York Mets Baseball Network.
This is WMCA, Strauss Communications in New York. 57 on your AM dial. The radio home of the New York Mets.
Wild Kiner along with Bob Murphy, and now coming in for the play-by-play, Lindsey Nelson.
Thank you very much, Ralph Conner. Hello again, everybody. Bruce Suter's in to do the pitching now. He's the ace of the relief corps, making his 27th appearance. He's won 5 and lost 2 last time out. He pitched 2 innings at Philadelphia, gave up no runs on 1 hit. Bruce Suter has been credited with 8 saves so far this year. Skip Lockwood is up and throwing now in the Met bullpen. Mets are at the plate. Foley's there. He swings and misses for strike 1. Chicago Cubs are leading by a score of 10-9, and the Mets are batting here in the top of the 8th inning. Foley is 1 for 2 and a walk. He scored twice today. He's a right-hand batter. Now Suter again into the motion, and the pitch low for a ball. It's 1-1. Needless to report, the wind has been blowing out here at Wrigley Field this afternoon. Here's a pitch swung on, hit on the ground foul, back of third, down toward the Cub dugout. It's out of play. Count holding 1-2 now to Tim Foley, number 7 man in the order. He's followed by Doug Flinders out on deck. And Lockwood is throwing because the pitcher is scheduled to follow then. That would be Paul Siebert. Now Suter up on the river again, looks for the sign. The count is 1 ball and 2 strikes, and the pitch is on the way. It is swung on and missed. Foley chased the breaking pitch low out of the strike zone, and he is strikeout victim number 1 for Suter. One away, and that'll bring up Doug Flynn. He's 1 for 2 and a walk. Scored a run in the 5th inning. Bright, warm, and sunny summer's day in Chicago, Illinois. Ron Hodges is moved out on deck as a prospective pinch batter. Ball is taken low as Flynn moved up as though to bunt. It's as though he'd like to push the ball to the first base side. 1-0 the count to him. Mets are trailing by a run in the game that is seesawed here this afternoon. Swing and a drive in the air to left field. Kingman goes back toward the wall, and he leaps in. He's got it. Kingman with a leaping grab into the ivy in left field, and he hauled it down. That ball was hit a long way by Doug Flynn, and Kingman went back across the warning track, set that big body up into the air, hauled down the ball, and then went into the ivy. And now we're having a switch. It's going to be Grieve batting instead of Hodges. Tom Grieve is being sent up as a pinch batter with nobody on base and 2 men out. Hodges goes back to the dugout. 2 away. Grieve is capable of giving the ball a long ride, and this is a day to get one up into the air because it's blowing out. Grieve is hitting .237, 1 homer, and 5 runs batted in. Mets are batting in the top of the 8th. 2 men out and nobody on base. The big inning today was the 6th when the Mets got 6 runs in the top of the 5th inning. The 5th inning was the big one. They got 6 runs in the top of the 5th to take the lead by 3 runs, and then the Chicago Cubs got 6 in the bottom of the same inning to match it and regain the lead. Mets have been battling back since. Here's Suter with the pitch to the right-hand batter, and it is in there for a called strike. Starting him off with a breaking pitch. It's 0-1. Lockwood throwing down to the bullpen with Siebert out of the ball game now for this pinch hitter. Grieve batting for Siebert. Pitch breaks low, and it's 1-1. Suter is the 5th pitcher to work today for manager Herman Frank's Chicago Cubs. Here's a swing and a miss. It's 1-2. Pitcher record at the moment is Len McLaughlin, and the pitcher record on the short side at the moment is Butch Metzger. Suter, of course, working on a possible save. He's had 8 this year. Looks in to get the sound, offers 1-2. Low, it's in the dirt dugout by catcher Dave Rader. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Suter looks in for the sound for the 2-2. The pitch is on the way. Swung on and missed, struck him out to his other side. Grieve swinging. So the Mets go in order. In the top of the 8th inning, and in the middle of the 8th, the score is the Cubs 10 and the Mets 9.
Talk about economy cars. At Datsun, we build them as if we had to buy the gas.
Nobody demands more from the Datsun than Datsun.
The Datsun B210GX, 48 highway, 36 city with optional 5-speed. These are EPA estimates. Your mileage may differ. But Datsun demands more. Our B210GX runs on quality. The front wheels never need caster and camber alignment in normal use. A steel pan protects the radiator. And for performance, Datsun engineered a dual-stage electric choke. We didn't have to be so demanding, but then we are Datsun. We are driven.
Nobody demands more from the Datsun than Datsun.
Check out the quality of a B210GX at your Datsun dealers today.
For the Mets now, Skip Lockwood comes into the pitching. He is making his 33rd appearance, all in relief. He has won 7 and lost 5. Last time out in New York against the Pittsburgh Pirates, he pitched an inning, allowed no runs, no hits. Lockwood has been credited with 8 saves this year. He will be facing the top of the Cub batting order as the Chicagoans come up in the bottom of the 8th inning. leading by a score of 10-9. Tomorrow afternoon, Pat Zachary will be on the mound for the Mets, and Dennis Camp for the Chicago Cubs will be on the air with radio and television coverage tomorrow afternoon. This is a 3-game series here in Chicago. Cubs came back in off their road trip having lost 6 games in a row, 8 of their last 9, and on the trip they were 3-10. They're trying to break the losing streak here this afternoon. They have a scant lead of 1 run, 10-9, and they're sending up Ivan de Jesus. 1 for 3 in a walkie double to drive in a run in the 5th inning. Everybody doubled a drive in a run in the 5th inning. Here's Lockwood into the motion, pitch to the right-hand batter, and it's high for a ball, 1-0. And the pitch is low for a ball, 2-0. This game has, of course, gone past the 3-hour limit, 3-hour time. Here's a swing and a foul ball back and out of play, and this one is Stern waiting and making the catch. The wind held it up. Looked as though the ball would go back into the seats, but Stern came back to the barrier and made the catch of the foul pop. So there's 1 away. That'll bring up Greg Gross. He had a base hit his first time up and scored. He's 1 for 4, left-hand batter. Playing center field for the Chicago Cubs. Lockwood with the pitch. And it's a fastball high, 1-0. Randall has moved up to the cutout of the grass at third base. They play Greg Gross to go to the opposite field. Bobby Mercer's on deck. Pitch is dealt low, and Lockwood goes behind 2-0. There's nobody on base. And the 2-0. Right in there for a call strike. Greg Gross was taking all the way, and it's 2-1. Lockwood again into the motion. He offers 2-1. Swung on, hit in the air to center field, but Mazzilli is right there, and he makes the catch. At perfect position, swung over toward the alley on left center. 2 away, and Bobby Mercer's coming up. If you want to look ahead to the top of the 9th inning, the Mets will send up the top of their batting order. Lenny Randall, Elliott Maddox, Lee Mazzilli. 2 men out, nobody on base. The Cubs 10, the Mets 9. Bobby Mercer's a left-hand batter. He walked, he singled, he walked, he grounded out. So officially he's 1 for 2, and he scored 1 run. Mercer's hitting .251 for the year, and he takes a called strike. It's 0-1. Dave Kingman has moved up on deck. Kingman's had 3 singles today. He is 3 for 4. Mercer cocks the bat. Lockwood's pitch curveball fouled off and out of play down toward the Met bullpen. 2 strikeouts to Bobby Mercer. Almost the entire playing field is still in brilliant sunshine. Only the area down in the left field corner is in shadow at the moment. There's a swing and a foul ball back and out of play. Matter of fact, the bullpen bench down there usually is pretty well populated. But at the moment, Nino Espinosa and Joe Pignatano are sharing the warmth of the sunshine on the bench down there in the Met bullpen. This will be an 0-2 delivery to Bobby Mercer. Breaking pitch misses outside. It's 1-2. Cubs 10, Mets 9. Skip Lockwood with a delivery. It's way up to the right field corner, but stays fair, but it's a foul ball. It's off the right field wall down there in foul territory where it is padded for about, the last 25, 30 feet. The wall runs parallel to the foul line. There's very little distance between the two, and the wall there is padded for the protection of outfielders coming over. That ball hit off the padding. 1-2 to Bobby Mercer. Lockwood delivers. Swing and a high pop to short left. Now, who's going to get this one? Henderson comes up and waits and makes the cut. Side is retired in order, nothing across. The end of 8, the score is Cubs 10, Mets 9. Here's good news for New York Mets fans. Now, containers of dairy lean, low-fat milk carry free coupons good for free tickets to the Mets baseball games. You have your choice of 20 games during the season. They're printed on the container, so we're pretty sure we have a game of your choice for you to see absolutely free. You can find dairy lean, low-fat milk in the colorful purple container in the dairy case at your local food store. It's protein fortified with vitamins A and D added. If you're watching your diet, remember, it contains only 1% milk fat. It's a great product because it satisfies hunger and thirst at the very same time, filling you up without filling you out. So try dairy lean, low-fat milk soon. Save those coupons, print it on the carton, and come on out to see a New York Mets game absolutely free. The New York Mets are coming up now in the top of the 9th inning, trailing by a run to see if they can pull out a come-from-behind victory against Bruce Sutter, the ace of the relief corps of the Chicago Cubs. They'll have their leadoff man, Lenny Randall, at the plate. He grounded out. He tried to bunt the ball and ran into it, was out. He had a base hit and scored. That was in the big 5th inning, and then he had a long sacrifice fly to right in the 6th inning. That drove in a run. So now, switch hitter. Lenny Randall, batting left, is up there with an average of .229. He has had 1 home run this year. Here's Sutter, right-hander, into the motion. The pitch is swung on and missed. It's strike 1. Randall swung himself out from under the hard hat, trying to get that ball up into the jet stream. Wind is blowing out all day long here. It has increased in velocity throughout the day. It was only 8 miles per hour at the start of the day, but it's a lot more than that now. Sutter started in the motion, stepped off. Now he's back up again as Randall comes into the batter's box. Here's the 0-1 delivery, and it is bunted. Rolls back foul out of play. So Randall is trying to bunt his way on as the Mets trail by 1 run. Elliot Maddox is on deck. It's a 2-strike count now to Randall. Cubs got 3 runs in the 1st inning here today. Then the Mets got 1, and then they got 6. Take a lead. Then the Cubs, who had got 1 more, and the 4th got 6, and the 5th as well. Mets battle back for 2 singletons, and that's where we are. 10-9 Cubs right now in the 9th inning. Swing and a ground ball foul back at first. It's out of play. Over to the corner of the Met dugout. There are small dugouts in comparison to the ones that are built into newer ballparks. And the roof is not very high as well. So if one leaps up in a hurry, he is very apt to crack his cranium on the rooftop in the dugout. Here's the 0-2 pitch, fouled off and out of play. Lenny Randall just getting a little of the bat on the ball to stay alive. The runway leads back from the dugout to a stairway which goes up and over a portion of the stands to the locker room, which is located 1 flight up. Here's the 2-strike delivery, and it's in there for a call, strike 3. Breaking pitch, and right through there by Bruce Sutter. Randall turns and runs back to the dugout. So there's 1 away. Elliot Maddox will be the batter. He's 1 for 4. He flied to center, went out to second, had a base hit, scored, hit into a 4th play. Elliot Maddox is hitting .267, no homers, and 16 runs batted in. The Cubs 10, the Mets 9.
Lindsay, that visiting clubhouse is the only thing that has not been touched since they built this park.
You better believe it. Here is the pitch, and it is swung on an underground foul back of third. It's out of play. Strike 1. Oh, and 1 to count. Lee Mazzilli's waiting on deck. Here's Bruce Sutter with the pitch, and it breaks in there for a called strike. It's 0-2 now to Elliot Maddox. Suda walks around the mound. He is working on what would be, if he gets it, his 9th save of the year. Then McLaughlin is pitcher of record on the long side. Butch Metzger is pitcher of record on the short side. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Check swing foul ball, off and out of play. Count holds at 2 strikes to Elliott Maddox. Paid crowd here this afternoon at Wrigley Field is 12,188. Cubs came into this game having won 13 of their last 15 at home. They've been tough at Wrigley Field. But they had a road trip in which they won 3 and lost 10. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Struck him out. Suda struck out Maddox. Suda's 3rd strikeout. 2 away, and now it's up to Lee Mazzilli. The Mets are down to their last out of the ballgame. Mazzilli had a homer in the 4th inning. He is 1 for 4. Switch hitter. Batting left against right-hander Bruce Sutter. Mazzilli walking slowly up to the plate. Steve Henderson has moved out on deck, hoping that Mazzilli can keep the game alive. The Cubs are leading by a score of 10-9. The Mets are batting in the 9th inning with 2 men out and nobody on base. Suter's on the rubber waiting as Mazzilli now steps in. End of the motion. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. It's strike 1. Suter is 0-1 to Mazzilli. Gets the ball back, rubs it up a little bit. Mazzilli comes back in and measures his stance. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Low for a ball. It's 1-1. Outfield defense is straight away and deep against Mazzilli, and the wind is blowing out. Here's the 1-1. Swung on and missed. Breaking pitch. 1-2 now to Lee Mazzilli. Bruce Sutter trying to strike out the side. He struck out Randall, struck out Maddox, and he has gone 1-2 now to Mazzilli. Mazzilli has turned and walked a few feet away from the plate. Now comes back. Sutter walked down to the grass back to the mound, strides up to the top now, steps onto the rubber, looks in. Dave Brady gives him the sign. The crowd now rises to the occasion. Here's a swing and a miss. He struck him out. The game is over. Sutter struck out the side in the 9th inning and got his 9th save of the year. McLaughlin got the win, and Butch Metzger took the loss. We'll be back in a moment with a final summary and totals. Right now, the final score of the game is the Cubs 10, the Mets 9.
I'm Barry Farber, and if you're listening right now, chances are you like baseball. May I take advantage of this brief interlude here to emphasize how much baseball and my radio talk show on WMCA have in common? There's a lot of pitching, and there's a lot of catching. After each swing, something happens. Either we swat thin air, or we connect and it's foul, or we get a good base knock, or a double bagger, rarely a home run, but sometimes it might be a pop fly to the infield. The point is, call by call, you never know. There are rhubarbs, there are controversies, there are shattering collisions of conviction, and there is the tension of good, clean sport. Well refereed, and every single moment exciting because it's unpredictable. That's the Barry Farber Show right here on WMCA, weekdays from 4 to 7, on Sundays from 11 o'clock in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
Marathon contest, the Chicago Cubs have outlasted the Mets 10-9. To tell you something of how they did it, here's Ralph Kiner.
Longest game in the National League this year, 3 hours, 14 minutes. The Cubs got off to a fast start, scoring 3 runs in the 1st inning. The Mets got a run back in the 4th inning on a home run by Lee Mazzilli, his 6th home run of the year. He had 6 all last season, his rookie year. But the Cubs got another run in the 4th inning to make it a 4-1 ball game on a steal of home by the second baseman Rodney Scott. Then the Mets took the lead by scoring 6 runs in the 5th inning, featured by a 3-run pinch hit home run by Ed Kranepool that tied him for 9th on the pinch hit list with Enos Slaughter. There was also another home run in that inning. It was a 2-run home run by Willie Montañez. Mets got another run in the 6th inning after they saw their lead go by when the Cubs scored 6 in the bottom of the 5th inning to take the lead by a score of 10-7. The run in the 6th inning came on a run batted in by Lenny Randle on a fly ball to right field. Mets got their last run of the game in the 7th to make it a 10-9 ball game on a home run by Steve Henderson, his 8th of the year. And Henderson, when hitting that home run, gave the Mets 4-in-1 ball game, the most they have had in a single game this season. But it left them 1 run short as Pete Suter, Bruce Suter, came in to pitch 2 innings of ball. He pitched to 6 batters, struck out 5, and picked up his 9th save. We'll be back with more of the wrap-up in just 1 minute right after this message.
Incredible. Today there is a 2-year-old car worth even more than its original cost. Need a hint? Starts with a D and ends with a...
This is Ken Coleman speaking. We hope that you have enjoyed this game. If you want to know more about other items you may purchase from the Miley collection, call 1-800-844-9143. That's 1-800-844-9143. We will look forward to talking with you. Is there something in particular you're looking for? Let us know. A final reminder that this copyrighted recording is licensed by Major League Baseball. Any reproduction or other commercial use of this recording, in whole or part, is prohibited.